Whoops. Well, hello there, folks. It is Saturday, and I'm normally, now that the election is over for the little bit, supposed to be off on Saturdays. But when a friend calls and says, hey, let's discuss corruption and politics, and they want to try to call attention to it, I'm like, hey, I got no problem with that. I didn't really have anything else going on tonight, so I said, let's turn the microphones on and the camera on, and let's get to it. Let's do it. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on this, what is this? The 81st episode of the Political Spotlight. I'll be joined by my friend, Dr. K. Dr. Katherine Callahan is going to be talking to us. And, well, I'm not going to tell you where she's at, but for security reasons. But I'll just say you've got someone really committed here who's doing this on a Saturday night rather than doing what she could be doing. So that's that. We're going to be joining with her in just a moment. I do just need to put up a couple announcements real briefly before we get started in all of the Madison County chaos and craziness. I just want to let you guys know this coming week, it's Saturday night, then there'll be Sunday, and then there will be Monday, the 20th of November. I know it's Thanksgiving week, but corruption still needs to flourish. So we'll be holding a Delaware County Commissioners meeting Monday, November 20th at 9 a.m. And if you are concerned, if you're pro, against, if you just want to hear what all the hubbub's about the solar issue in Delaware County, then you need to come out to the solar, to the Delaware County Commissioners meeting. They're going to be talking about the solar issue there. And then do not forget Tuesday, November 21st, 2023, also at 9 a.m. I want to let you guys know, folks, this is what happens when we do these shows. People tell us that what we do here doesn't matter. People say that speaking out to your elected officials does not matter. People say that we're not important, that nobody listens here. Let me tell you why that's exactly wrong. Because not only did we want the solar issue to be discussed at the Monday meeting with the commissioners, but we also wanted it to be discussed on Tuesday at the Delaware County Council. Specifically speaking, we wanted the Delaware County Council to discuss the abatement that they gave nearly a year and a half ago to Hawthorne and to Invenergy. And they kept telling us, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do this, yada, yada, yada. They didn't want to do it. They weren't going to do it. They're not going to do it. And last week, Thursday or Friday, the agenda came out. Delaware County Council meeting, November 21st, 2023. Delaware County Commissioner's Courtroom. You can see all the way down on here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Topic 12, review of status of Meadow Forge and Hawthorne tax abatement resolutions. Now, what we're hoping they do is they decide to rescind the tax abatement, not to necessarily kill it, but to rescind it at this time, to send it back to the tax abatement committee to be heard, and then the commissioners and the council can decide, or the council rather can decide what they're going to do. The commissioners are going to do whatever they do Monday. We need to be there for that, but you're going to want to be there for both of these meetings at 9 a.m. in the morning, 9 a.m. Eastern morning time at the Delaware County Old Courthouse at 100 West Main Street, 3rd floor in the Commissioner's Courtroom. I will be there, and both of those meetings on Monday and Tuesday will be live streamed right here for the people that cannot go. So I just want to let you guys know that. All right, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring up our guest, Dr. Oh, that's not her. Hold on a second. That's Chairman Willis. Hold on here a second. Let's bring up the doctor.
Well, that's just a great introduction since we're going to be talking so much about him today.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome. It's been a minute since you've been here.
It has, with all the elections going on. Everybody's been busy. I know you've got big coverage over there. We've talked a little bit about you and I splitting up a little bit, maybe giving a little more exposure to both. But, I would be without Stumblefoot and Alva on there with me, and they're two great commentaries, and there's others of your group that are wonderful, and so I would need some of them as well, because
absolutely.
They have common sense.
Yeah, right. Well, I do want to say before we get started, because last time you were here, really the last time you were here, we were all worried about the thing in Lapel, and that wasn't going yet, and there was a whole bunch of chaos. Now, I've talked about it since you've not been here in a minute, but you guys did have a really successful turn of events over there, and so that's a good thing, and you guys really did a lot of good work over there, because it went from, I thought you guys were screwed. I thought it was a done deal. And every time, like, I would go and I'd talk to my grandparents, and my grandpa's like, they're not going to defeat that. That's going in. And we're like, yep, it's probably going in. And you guys, not only did you defeat it, but you defeated it like unanimously.
Yes. I got to give a shout out to, I had a crew of about 6 to 8 people who wanted to stay behind the scenes, and they all know who they are. They still want to continue to stay behind the scenes with a lot of this, and I appreciate all of them stepping up. And I'm really actually kind of sad in my heart that we live in a community that people feel that they cannot step forward and speak. And somebody said to me the other day, they said the saddest part of all this is that Katherine has taken the most out of all of this. All I really wanted to do was save our water, and save people, in their health. And so through all that, people need to understand elected and appointed officials have a job to do. That did not take place. So, and it's funny because I've even had people make comments and I didn't know they were talking to me. I was totally dumbfounded. I guess people, and they're asking why I'm not speaking up in meetings. Well, nobody said my name. I mean, they didn't say, but they were making all these comments. So why would I get up and speak? I didn't know who they were talking about. Actually, I thought they were talking to the elected officials, because they were saying, people have spewed lies and people have said lies. Well, okay, yeah, you guys didn't get a hydrogeologist. You guys didn't get an EPA. So I thought they were talking to the elected and appointed officials. I had no idea until somebody private messaged me and said, those comments are to you. Well, in the future, what I would recommend is if somebody has a comment that they would like me to address in a public meeting, please say my name. I am happy to stand up and do that. I would caution people, though, that if you're saying that I am the one who lied and you're saying this publicly to the people, I'm a little bit confused because the vote did go 5-0. So
Yeah.
what are you saying about the BZA members? Because I will tell you, those BZA members, I've never seen 5 more hardworking men in my life. And I'm going to tell you, Jeff Keith is an amazing leader. And if more people could be like Jeff Keith, and I'm saying all 5 of them deserve it, but that man is a man of integrity. He does his homework. I've never met the man. So anybody who even thinks I'm friends with this, I've never even met the man. I've shaken his hand and said, thank you. But other than that, I've never spoken to the man. But he has been consistent. And he has done his homework and he has thoroughly vetted things. So I'm surprised how people feel about this. And we're just going to keep moving forward. LKQ does have until November 30th to appeal this. It did come out. The Wilson family did make a statement that they said LKQ will not be appealing this, but I'm always cautious with that. So
Sure.
we'll just go through
Until
here. But
it's
I know
done,
a lot
it's
of
not
people,
done.
Yeah. And so we'll sit tight. And there's just so much through this. We did have an elected official who resigned, who was the president. And Chris, you had asked for his resignation.
Yeah.
We also showed through the programming where Chad Blake had an outburst claiming how dare the community. And again, the community.
How dare you redress your government?
Now he's the president of the council.
Yeah, that's really sad. I was really sad that happened. I mean,
Yeah. So we had a caucus and so we went through that. We have a new member. So, we want to talk about caucus. I mean, you and I probably have enough material for a whole month. If we wanted to
so
break
you brought up a couple things here that I want to talk. So first of all, I do want to get back to the caucuses. I've kind of teased the show as we've been talking this week. I told people that we'd have some things coming up and we'd talk about a couple different key features and things like that. And I want the show to go wherever you want it to go, and we can talk about whatever. But I want to start before we start getting too far off track, because it feels like sometimes we have a map of where we want to go, and then there she went someplace. Are you there?
Okay, am I back now?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
you were always there, but you were just it was blank. But yeah. So no, I don't know if you heard me or not, but I said sometimes we'll have a map of where we want to go, but because of just the topics, things we kind of get off and we veer off. But I do want to start. You were talking about the fact that people were talking about lies and things like that, and so I wanted to start there. And I feel like both elected officials and the public and candidates, people who might be considering running for office, need a little bit of schooling on lies, lying, libel, slander, and this, because these are things that get
conflict of interest.
These are things that get brought up quite a bit, and they are always used. Listen, I'm not an attorney. You're not an attorney, but I can tell you that 90% of the times I hear people use the words slander and libel, they are not used appropriately. If you and I are people out in the, first of all, one of the easiest ways to remember this is libel, slander. It's all kind of wraps around defamation of character and whatnot. They're civil. It's a civil, so you're not going to go to prison or go to jail for this. But if you get sued for this and you're sued for libel, the offense that you've committed is writing something down, putting something on Facebook, writing something, saying it in a newspaper, typing it in a newspaper, or put it in writing. Slander is spoken, and the easiest way, of course, to remember that is slander starts with S, spoken starts with S. So that's kind of the way that people can remember that. But there's a whole lot of complexities that go into charging somebody as a citizen, charging someone with slander or libel. And because I'm not an attorney, I will not get into those complexities. The easiest thing that I can tell everybody is, and this is very important for people to know this, if you're an elected official, if you're a public official, meaning if you're elected, if you've been elected by a caucus, appointed by the party, if you are a non-elected government official, meaning you're on the board of works because the mayor has appointed you, or you're on some committee that the city council or the county council has appointed you to, if you're on the BZA, if you get paid or don't get paid, you can still be a volunteer and work for the government. If you're a police officer, if you work for the street department, if you're a government official, it's really harder than hell to charge someone with slander or libel. Now, it might be a little easier for people who are just the, Tom, Dick, or Harry on the street department. Maybe they can a little bit easier. But if you're an elected official, if you're someone that's a public servant, a BZA, city council, county council, commissioners, the governor, the president, you have put yourself in the limelight. Nobody held a gun to your head, hopefully, and asked you to run. You can step away from that life at any point. You do things on the public's behalf, and people can have opinions of you. And sometimes those opinions cannot be flattering. Sometimes those opinions can be based on perception or based on complete made-up bullcrap. But if you're just a private person out working and someone's saying that you're having an affair with 10 different guys in town, that can really affect your livelihood. Maybe people stay away from you. Maybe people flock to you or whatever, but that can affect you. And so you could sue somebody. If you're a public official and you're the mayor of, Corruptionville, and someone says, well, I think he's having an affair with his, on so-and-so, it's not nice. It's not fun. And people shouldn't do that, but it's hard. Even for people like you and I had someone that was just over and above, just really crazy, almost about stalking me about a year and a half or 2 years into me doing all of this. And I was talking to my attorney at the time, and I was like, look, if this person, they were doing this one specific thing and saying this one specific thing. And I was like, if this person keeps doing this, I would like to send them a letter. And my attorney said, not going to work. He said, you're not an elected official. You're not a public official. You're nobody. Everyone loves to tell me that. But the fact that you have put yourself out here in this position, you're now have opened the door, and you have to kind of accept it. And unfortunately, the same goes for you. Now you've kind of stepped into that as well. But all that's to say that if you and I would have a hard time suing somebody for slander or libel, elected officials are definitely going to have a hard time doing that. So I just, when people, a lot of times you'll get hangers on or like the Dan addicts will be like, well, you keep saying that and he should sue you for slander. No, that's not going to happen. They can't do that. So I just want people to know that. Quit saying that. If the best thing to know is for these elected officials, if you don't want people talking about you, resign, give it up, quit running for office, leave, go back to the private sector. Nobody's going to say a damn thing about you if you're minding your own business. But when you're minding my business, I'm going to have something to say about it. So that's very important for people to know, because I think that gets thrown around too much. So that's just a good starting point.
So I'm kind of reading some of your comments down there, and
fine.
people are asking if they can call me and stuff. You're welcome to message me on Messenger or however you want to do it. I haven't. Some people call my office. We're still in that same routine of state your address and your name at the at the podium. So I haven't really kind of given all that information out. I'm not afraid to give my information out, but if you want to call the office and you want to talk to me, then we'll vet you. That number is 765-534-3636. If somebody's just dying to talk to me for some reason, I don't really know.
I've
And
always
then
said this: send her a message. She's very easy. I mean, just like me, she's very easy to communicate with on social media. She's not ever not answered, even back when we didn't know each other or whatnot. And anybody that messages me on Facebook, I will message. And hell, half the time, if I've talked to you 2 or 3 times on Messenger, I'll say, okay, just go ahead and call me. It's easier. And so, that's the thing. So, it's good to know sometimes the people you're talking to like aren't gonna like trying to peel your skin off and wear it, but
well,
yeah,
and there's so much information that's going on in Madison County right now. And I don't even know where to start because these elected officials, I mean, it's like Dallas over here. It really is. I mean, we got John Richwine, who we can call JR. We got the whole show over here. So
right.
so we want to talk a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about precinct, and then we'll go into the grand finale for everybody to be able to see how elected officials under Russ Willis's umbrella behave. So
Right.
I think that'll be our grand finale tonight. And then even from that, we'll have several other shows. But let's talk a
Sure.
little bit about precinct committeemen.
Okay.
Now, we just went through this whole thing in Lapel with LKQ, and families are saying that this has become personal. No one ever made it become personal. This was completely about the water system. But in the meantime, people keep talking about it and keep talking about it. Well, I am going to say some things tonight that people are probably going to feel that it's personal. But I didn't put you in that position. You put yourself in that position. So
Absolutely.
evidently, we had an open seat in Stony Creek 2, and that was a precinct committee man. Somehow this gentleman has moved away. I don't know when that occurred. In August, everybody was aware that I ran for a caucus, and at that time, I received I received a precinct committee list after I almost, had to do a tsunami of getting that. Which, if you read the records, if you're running for something, you should be given precinct committeeman lists. This should not be, and what Russ is doing is he's running around. He'll write down the ones in your area, but he's not going to give you the whole list, or he's not going to give you this. It's the craziest thing. So, and Ryan wants to be interactive. Hey,
Oh
absolutely,
yeah.
just shoot your questions up there. We'll ask. So anyways, come to find out, and on October 16th, we were made aware that Noah Boozell was resigning. Now, when I say we're talking about the grapevine. So 2 weeks go by and nothing happens. So I write the Herald Bulletin and I send them a message and I said, it's my understanding somebody's resigned, but nobody's made it public. Well, and the reason how this got so out of control is Russ was doing his thing of calling all the people he wanted in that position. Now, there's a 72-hour rule there that you have to be within the 72-hour mark. So what Russ does is he tries to run down the time clock. You get to that 72-hour mark and nobody can get into that position. And by then he uses that as a loophole. In the meantime, he won't tell anybody who the precinct committee members are. Well, 72 hours before the caucus, and I tell you, we got 2 great candidates who ran. It was Blaine Trinkle and Roger Faust. Roger has ran several times, hasn't been successful, but this time he caucused in. Blaine Trinkle, I'm going to put it out there, no disrespect to Roger, and I'm not saying, but Blaine's a chief financial officer. I mean, he's got an accounting background. Why we didn't take that as a town when we have $98,000 missing in our budget? You couldn't have asked for a better opportunity. And then the community says, we don't have anybody who wants to get involved. Well, I don't know. You had 2 great candidates right there. So,
Well, let's
yeah,
pause one second just right there, because I think that's a good place to look. So I want to first real quick just tell everybody the caucus is a special thing. So the caucus only comes into effect. You'll hear elected officials like our city council members, the Republicans and the Democrats, they will quote unquote caucus around topics. And so they'll get together as long as it isn't a majority of them. And sometimes even when it is a majority of them, and they'll do their thing, and they will caucus and talk about a topic. But as far as the term caucus that she is speaking on, what that means is when an elected official who is a seat holder, a mayor, a commissioner, a councilor, the governor, some political official who has been elected by the public, if they, and we're just talking about here in the state of Indiana right now, if they leave office on their own, they resign, spend time with family, they go back into the private sector, they leave to run for other office. If they resign just because they're sick of it, because they're tired of people talking about them, for whatever reason, if they leave office, if unfortunately, God forbid, they die while in office, it is Indiana, so it's, and specifically East Central Indiana, if they're convicted of a felony, which oftentimes can happen here, if one of those three things happens, if they leave office on their own accord for whatever reason, if God forbid they die while in office, or if they are convicted of a felony, not arrested, not accused, but convicted or pled guilty to a felony, they leave office. When that happens, there's not a special election. People don't flip names into a hat or whatever, pull names from a hat. The Republican Party or the Democrat Party, whatever party was the party of that candidate, if it was a Republican mayor or Democrat councilman, whatever party, they get together, and the chairman, they're supposed to open it up to anybody that's a Republican or anybody that's a Democrat, or if it's libertarian, and they're supposed to let anybody come in and take that opportunity to say, hey, I want to do this. If you live in that district, if you live in that area and you're eligible, you're supposed to be able to go up and go. And the precinct committee people from that area vote on you. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But that's what a caucus is. You don't caucus to get elected, to run for primary. It has nothing to do with the regular election cycle. It only has to do when somebody leaves office. So in this case, the council president, Noah Boesel, which was that younger, blonde, toothy kid, he left after all this craziness and said, all right, whatever reason, he was done. So he left. Now they have a hole on that council. And he was a Republican, which then gave Chairman Willis the ability to put someone in that seat. And everyone that was a Republican from Lapel, from that area, should have been able to put into it. But if people don't know that this is going on, how could you put in for it?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, is that people just don't know what's going on, and he's sliding things through. And so I put out a huge post of, these are the directions. Well, I got a call on that. These are the forms you need. How dare I do such a thing? And I even put on there, even if you're not a Republican that's voted twice, please go ahead and apply, because he can sign off on you. Do you know that he told one candidate that he has never signed off on a Democrat or somebody who's only voted once? I'm thinking to myself, I didn't even know what to say. I mean, I'm totally floored. And he was talking to like 6 or 7 people to do this. And before he even got to the 2 people who actually ran. I mean, this is the nuttiest thing. And so now so I feel, and again, I feel that as a community, you should be able to call your precinct committeemen and talk to them of who you think is the best candidate. Just because they're the ones that get to vote doesn't mean we shouldn't have any comment in this.
Absolutely.
So I'm asking Russ for dates. Will you tell us who it is? Even Ken Delabastide, will you tell us who it is? Oh, no, it's the secret club. We're not going to tell anybody who it is. So nobody knows who this is going into the caucus. Well, let's just say who's Stony Creek 2's new representative. It's Dan Paddock.
So, okay, so this new, okay, so real quick, now you brought in another term, precinct committee person. And as I told everybody, we would kind of tell people what that is. Precinct committee person. There's a precinct committee person for the Republicans, and there's a precinct committee person for the Democrats. Every precinct, every voting precinct should have one of these in your city, your county, your town. So if there are 4 precincts in your small little town, you should have 8 precinct committeemen, and you should have 8 vice committeemen. You should, and how it is in the state of Indiana, if your committeeman is a male, the vice is a female, or if the precinct committeeman is a female, the vice is a male. And the Republican Party appoints the Republicans. The Democrat appoints the Democrats. They're elected to these positions. They're unpaid positions, and they are either elected or appointed for 4-year terms. And these precinct committee people have, single-handedly at the same time, the most non-important job and the most important job, and the most boring and most exciting at the same time, because what a precinct committee person does basically nothing, except they're supposed to be the poll book holder for that precinct. They know who all of their Republican voters are in their precinct. They're supposed to be able to help with absentee ballots. They're supposed to be able to help get those people to the polls to vote. But their main job is, every 4 years, they will come together and they elect who the chairman of the party is. That's why these chairmen guard these people so much, because they elect who the chairman is, but they're the ones that are in charge of voting in these caucuses. So, for example, in City of Muncie, in this last 4 years, we have 9 council members. 5 of them have left for various reasons. Each time we would have a precinct committee person leave, mostly it was the Republicans, but there were 2 Democrats. If we had a Republican leave, then the Republican precinct committee people for that area. So when it was an at-large, when it was Richard Ivy at-large, that meant every precinct person in Muncie that was a Republican got together and was supposed to vote. If it was the precinct committee person for Democrats, District 6, it was the precinct committee people just in District 6. There's like 4 or 5 of them, and they get together. And so that's an important job, because you're having just these select few people voting for who's going to be appointing who's an elected official or appointing the party chairman, which is very powerful.
And so there was only 3 that was involved in this caucus in the town of LaPel. One was from Stony Creek 1. He was elected, and his name is Lloyd. I can't remember his last name. The second one was Mr. Valentine from Green Township, and he's elected. And then Stony Creek 2 was involved, but that one was appointed. But nobody knows when the Stony Creek 2 person left and the new appointment took place. Dan refuses to acknowledge when that appointment took place. But if I was a gambling woman, I would say probably in the last 4 weeks it took place.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's deduce this. Was that position at the caucus that you did for coroner, or it was countywide?
No,
they should have been.
Yeah, in August, the gentleman who was elected in that position was still on the grid, right? He was still on all, because I have the whole county, because I was in a county caucus. Now, and this is just the truth behind it, because Adam Matson, who was the one who won the caucus for the coroner, he sent out a letter to every precinct committeeman, and he puts on there that he's a precinct committeeman. Right? Well, that's interesting, because he's never been a precinct committeeman in the past, and he was not on the list. Well, what did Russ do? He quickly appointed him before the caucus so that he could show the people he's never been a precinct committeeman. And just the mere illusion that Russ continues to do to the people is disgusting. There's no reason for it. And so if people are upset with how they're being portrayed, well, when you decide to step in the ring with Russ Willis, he sometimes has sacrificial lamb. I mean, I would have been told, and there's rules about this in the election guide. Like, you have to be in a position for so long. You can't just go and vote. I mean, there's things that have to, here's even a better one. At no time At no time in the past year has Russ updated a precinct list at the state. I'm not even sure my caucus
Because he
was
doesn't.
legit.
He doesn't. Right. They don't want. It don't matter to these people. They don't want people knowing what's going on because it's
It's
like
not
that
a secret
whole
club.
"don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain" type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, like the Wizard of Oz. This isn't a secret club, people. We've got to get involved. There are 112 seats in Madison County that will have to be filled. And I'm going to give you a good example. So, for the people of LaPel who are watching, and there's a lot of Madison County who is aware, the president of the county council right now is Rob Steele. Rob Steele lives in the heart of LaPel. And as a matter of fact, you want me to always give my address. He just lives like diagonal from the bank there on Main Street, everybody. I'm just going to tell you about it on the other side of the station because I'm tired of everybody saying that. I have to say where I live. Okay. So let's just all get it out there. So he lives in, he probably would have been Stony Creek too, right? Well, the amazing thing is that he's an elected official, but he's not an elected precinct committeeman. But guess what? He's appointed in Green Township too. And guess what? His wife, Linda Steele, she's appointed somewhere in Anderson. Now, if you go and look at our other elected officials like Anthony Emery and those guys too, the same deal. They didn't run for precinct committeemen in their part, but don't worry, they're appointed somewhere else. And here's the thing. You really think Mr. Willis, and I even cringe at saying Mr. Willis, but I will be respectful. He's got people who live in the southern part of the county appointed up in Alexandria, like they know somebody up there. That's not what precinct committee men or members are supposed to be doing. But this is the hogwash because he wants to control those caucuses. We have already, I think within the last 4 years, we've had like a half a dozen caucuses. Why is that? Now we've got another one coming up in Pendleton. That person put her resignation in on November 10th. Nobody knew anything about it. And then suddenly Pendleton started seeing my post. They called me and said, "Hey, Katherine, can you do something about the Pendleton caucus?" I said, "Well, what's going on there?" Well, she resigned. Russ has already been calling people, but again, he hasn't put it out for the public, nor has the Herald Bulletin. Well, that's not fair, people. You have the right to know. Now here, Todd Baldridge, he's done the artwork. If anybody's running for election, they want help. Todd's a great person to hire, to market, to do all that stuff. He developed this screenshot here of Russ. He knows how all this works too. So hopefully one day we'll have him on here to help share. But we have 112 slots. I was talking to him earlier. We have 112 precinct committeeman slots that we need to fill. But Todd reminded me we actually have 224 because the vices have to go in there. Yeah, maybe you need to talk about a lot about that. But what you'll see here in Madison County, what they've done is they've split up husband and wife. Right. So it's telling me that Russ is starting to run short on people and he's splitting them up. And then you don't see a lot of vices in this situation. So it's real interesting how, Noah Bozel's another one. He ran for election and he's appointed somewhere. The majority of our elected officials are appointed in their PC slot, not elected. And they
that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. So if you're lucky enough, or you've kissed the ring enough, or you've run enough deals for these people, and Chairman Willis is happy enough with you, and you're so good that you're allowed to be, Anderson City Councilor so-and-so, or Madison County Commissioner so-and-so, or Alexandria Councilor so-and-so, then if you're one of these elected officials and you're part of over in Delaware County, we call it the family. If you're part of the Republican Party in Madison County, same thing. Absolutely. Same thing happens in Delaware County. Same thing's happening in Henry County. Same thing's happening in Randolph County. Same thing's happening in all 92 counties in Indiana and elsewhere beyond Indiana. It's happening everywhere. When that happens, see, this is the thing. What you're saying is it's very much like the old gentlemen's clubs, like the Masons or the Elks. They used to not they wouldn't go out and bring people into the fold, the Masons to be one, ask one, so they wouldn't go out and they didn't bring younger people into the fold. Well, now the Masonic party or the Masonic club is basically dying out. Same thing with these Democratic and Republican parties. They're not bringing young and fresh blood into the party because they like to keep it, also centralized around, one or two figures or families. And so they don't want to bring in new ideas and new people because they can't control that. So what they do in these positions, normally 60 years ago, every one of those places would have been filled. All precinct committee people would have been filled, and everybody would have been, you'd have had 2 or 3 people running for it, and people would have been glad to do it. Well, now what these party chairmen, these party bosses have figured out is, if people don't run, that's great, because now after the election, they can just appoint. There's people in Delaware County that are the precinct committee person of like 2 precincts. I don't think that's even allowed.
I don't think, no, that's not allowed. If you read the rule books, that is absolutely not allowed.
And so it's like, whoa, what do we have going on here? Because all they're doing is, first of all, they're cutting down on the votes for chairman. They're keeping it close to them, to the vest on who's going to vote for chairman, who's going to vote for these spots if people leave or die or get convicted or whatever. They're able to control that power, and that's why that happens. That's why they would rather appoint than to fill by election.
And so people need to understand, and because I really don't want to miss your Delaware County people to play some footage here on what happened Tuesday night. But real quick, just to recap on precinct, then we'll do a whole show on it. That's why it's important to vote in a primary, because the primary designates that you have to have 2 consecutive. People are asking, if you voted in 2010 as a Republican, didn't vote again until 2022, and you voted as a Republican, that's 2 consecutive. As long as there's nothing in between.
In between it.
Primary or precinct commitments, this only takes place in the primary. After the primary, it's over with, because they're expecting you to work the general to get their people into those slots. So understand, you can only apply for this in the primary only, and once those people vote, it's over with. If you voted twice as a Republican or a Democrat, you want to run in that position on your party, you do not need the chair's permission. I don't care what he tells you. Just turn it in. He's not God. I mean, there are rules. If anybody has questions about that, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to do that. So people need to start gearing up. It's important for you to be registered to vote. It's important for you to put for these precinct committeemen. You play a vital part in the future. It's going to take a lot of people. Delaware County's in the same position. You guys need a lot more precinct committeemen. So maybe we'll do a whole show on that. But I really want to show the exciting stuff for Tuesday night.
Yeah.
When you don't, correct.
Listen, 4 days. That's very true. People don't run because we're all trying to stay afloat out here. And so I always tell people this: you got to be involved where you can be involved. And so for some people, they have time and they have the ability to be a precinct committeeman. Some people have the ability to be able to go to the city council meetings that are at 6 p.m. Some people work second shift, so they can't do that, but they can go to the commissioners meetings that are at 9 or 10 a.m. Some people can't do either of those, but they can write. Some people can make a phone call. Some people can post on social media. Everybody is not going to do all things or be able to do all things or be as on fire for this as Kate or Brandon or me or Dr. Callahan here. People aren't going to be doing this. If you are excited and you want to spread the news and you want to get all this information out, go get a microphone, go get a camera and get on YouTube. Do it. I'm not like, oh my God, you're stealing some of my thunder. We need to spread the word, but do what you can do. There are people, I'll put it to you, you are absolutely right for days, but I want to be clear. There are people out here that can do it, and they don't, number one, they don't know it. They don't know about it. They don't know how to go about it. And those are the people that we need to reach and wake up and say, hey, you're missing out on an opportunity here to make things better, and we can use your help, and we need to. Listen, I don't have a problem telling people about the stuff and getting people to understand it. It's getting the word out to people. We need to start making bigger networks and growing this. This channel needs to be bigger. People following Katherine need to be bigger. We need to grow and grow, not because it's like, oh, we like clicks and views. It's because we need to spread the freaking message.
So let me ask you this question, Chris. Can people register to vote right now?
Yes.
Okay. So that's, I know a lot of people have registered to vote. They've reached out after watching you and I go back and forth. So it's open. So start registering to vote now.
Yes.
If you do not know how you voted in the past, call the election office. They will tell you how you voted, if it was Republican or general. Let me ask you this, Chris. So say that I've always voted, but only in the general, but I've never voted in a primary. How do I declare my party, and then do I have to have the chair sign off on me?
In Indiana, we don't declare party. So you don't ever declare a party. The way that you quote unquote declare a party is by voting in the primary. People say, well, I don't want to do that. Okay, I get it. That's fine. Then the only technical way that you can file to run for office, you can do it. It's harder, is you have to have the chairman sign off on you. So if you've only voted in November, say you vote, I know people have done this. There was a reporter here. There was a reporter in Muncie for years. He would go in the primary and he would get a school board only ballot. He would vote school board only, and he would actually only cast ballots in the general. That was Larry Riley. If you're someone that's done that, you can't, like, for example, me, I want to be sure here, because I flip-flop. I voted.
For me, I have only voted Republican, even though Russ Willis sent every precinct committeeman 45 minutes before the caucus that I've always voted Democrat. I have only voted Republican.
So the doctors only voted Republican primaries. That means next year, in 2 months, when January turns around, she can walk into the Madison County Clerk's office, and any office that she is eligible for, meaning she couldn't run for prosecutor, she couldn't run for judge, but she could run for basically everything else. She could run for at-large counsel. She could run for maybe her district commissioner or anything else that she's eligible for. She could go in and she could run as a Republican without ever talking to Russ. She could walk by Russ and flip him off, and she could file her paperwork, and she could sign, and she's a Republican running as a Republican, and nothing can happen. Nothing, everything's okay. Me, for example.
I want to tell everybody this. In 2022, I chose to run for a state delegate seat, right? Only because, it's me. And if you know me by now, I like to do things. So I put in for the state delegate, which really there's 15 of us out of each district, right?
Yeah.
Russ blocked me because I'd only voted once in all my time, and I'd only voted once as a Republican. But then fast forward to 2023, not even a year later, he tells everybody I voted as Democrat. But you challenged me because I'd only voted once ever in my life, and it was as a Republican in 2020. I'm so confused by how you could even tell people now. Now, I wonder if that's slander or libel or defamation.
It's hard because it's political.
Right? But here's the thing. It's a bold-faced lie.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, for days, I hear you. I hear you, man. I get what you're saying 100%. I mean, when you get people that's not even going to, do stuff when it comes down to their pocketbook, yeah, right. Yeah. They need you in Henry County. You could move to Henry County and clear things right up. You'd probably win. But that's the thing. So if you want to run for office and you voted 2 Republican primaries, I always say it's a good idea to give the party chair a heads up. Hopefully you live in an area where they're cool, but if you don't, it's a problem. If you want to run as a Democrat and you voted twice as Democrat, you can run. The problem becomes if you're like me, who's somebody who from time to time, depending on what's going on, I'll pick a Democrat primary or I'll get a, whatever, because I do things strategically and I do things what I feel is best. But I voted twice Republican. I voted the last 2 times have been Republican, so I'm good. But that's the thing. So, if you've only voted once, you need to be signed off on. If you flip-flopped up your primary, you need to be signed off on. Or if you've only voted in generals, you need to be signed off on. And that's when you have to go through the course of, or you can run Libertarian. And you could, there's some things that has to happen there, and you've got to tell the Libertarian, why. I mean, I'm not a big fan of people just doing whatever willy-nilly. Like I say, if you're going to run Republican, you should have some conservative beliefs. If you're going to run Democrat, you should probably have some liberal beliefs. If you're going to run Libertarian, you should really feel that you're a Libertarian. That's my belief, but
now, eventually, I think they'll change the names to the political parties. It will either be Republicrats or Demlicans.
Yes, right. That's exactly everybody's the same thing.
Everybody's all over the place.
Yeah, right.
So, but let's talk about Tuesday night in Madison County.
Yeah. So, okay. And folks, this is all connected because it's all happening in Madison County. And basically you could take Madison County off and you could call it Delaware. You could call it Randolph. You could call it Henry. You could call it Wayne. You could call it Marion. I mean, it's all the same thing, but this is just the latest craziness that occurred in Madison County. So Tuesday, I can't believe that you guys are still doing this. So what were you, at Tuesday's council meeting, you guys, what was the purpose? What were you guys doing?
Well, because the Tuesday before was election. So that's why it got bumped, right? So it got bumped. So
it's going to be voted on. This has to, by law, be voted on before the 1st.
Well, okay. So here's the thing to back up everybody. So in October, Rob Steele brought a budget, right? And I'm just putting this number out there, right?
He's a councilman,
and it was like 40 million or something. Yeah, it was like 40 million. Well, 3 council members and the auditor got together and they came up with a different budget for like 42. Well, Mikhail Vaughn calls them out and says, you guys are violating the open door law. If you guys pass this budget tonight, that's not what you've put in. It's more. You can always go under, but you can't go more. He goes, you guys are going to have a lawsuit on your hand. Well, after 30 minutes of going back and forth, finally, Kendall Bassey, the reporter, says, you guys are going to be in trouble. It's going to be an open door. So then Rob Steele and Ben Gill get real cocky with Jody Norick, who, and they say to Jody Norick, well, then we'll just sit here all night and do it. The meeting goes until 12:38 the next morning. They sat there for almost 7 hours.
Wait, on what day?
That was October. And I have to go back in my films and look at it. Like October 10th, I don't know, October 8th, the second Tuesday in October, whatever that was.
All right. Okay. So that's back when that was. So that was.
Now they were told.
You stayed there, right? You stayed there.
Yeah. I stayed there all the way until 1:00 in the morning. And so they told them, the attorney said, you guys can table this. You still have enough time that you get it in. You're going to be in a rush because you got to post it for 10 days. You got to do everything, but you can do it. Oh no, they dug in. So they sat there and they did it. Well, fast forward, Bethany Keller, which you got to love her. She says, so we fast forward to this meeting. She goes, I'm not approving these minutes. They're inaccurate. As a matter of fact, I asked you guys for the budget. You guys wouldn't give it to me. So I got on Gateway and you submitted the budget that Rob Steele originally brought to the table. And so, and from there, you got to see this. You got to see. Bethany just calls them right out.
We've got some video here, right? Oh. Okay.
If you tell me what minute mark you're at, I might be able to. Are you at 1757 out there?
Yep.
Okay, try that one.
I'm at 1740. It wouldn't let me get to 1757, so I'm a little early.
That's
all
right.
right.
This is Auditor Rick Gardner.
All right.
He is up for election, but not, and he's termed out as an auditor.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going.
within 5 days, according to you. So 5 days, I thought it was actually 3, but I got 2 extra days now in the future, but 5 days, but you're talking about more than 5 days work.
Well, if that's true, then on the November 1st, when you realized from Mr. Steele, because I called him, I think it was the 31st that I had some communication with President Steele, that you then called down to the DLGF on the November 1st to get it unlocked. And you had all those changes done that same day.
That's because leading up to that, after that council meeting on November 10th, and also what you're talking about on November 1st, we're doing tons of work after the council meeting. So we're taking your spreadsheet that you passed that night in that council meeting. We're going through every single line in that. We're matching that to our financial software, which we have to put that into before we can even upload it into Gateway. There's tons of work leading up to getting that on Gateway. And then we match all 3 of them and make sure they're matching. So I think, again, you're trying to manage what we do and the time we spend doing it, but we have far more to do than you think we do.
And I don't deny that, Rick, but when the DLGF, after talking with them and them telling us that no budget should have been submitted until after the corrections were made, that we changed that evening, and you didn't even take the 5 days to submit it, you submitted it the same day we passed it. So no changes
submitted it the next, well, yeah,
it
the
was
same
the
day.
same day.
It's the same day because you went into the
Okay.
next day with a 7-hour meeting. So it's semantics at this point.
Yeah, I'm just saying that you had 5
What's
days
your
to make
question
edits.
though? What is your question today?
I think that the thing that people have to understand, the point that our auditor is trying to make, is in a normal budget cycle, a normal budget approval process, there may have been a few changes in the meeting that we would have passed, and a few changes could have been done quickly by the auditor's office. We made significant changes. That's going to take a lot more time. The DLGF has a process that you went through, and the DLGF is not upset with anything that you've done.
You simply send an email to the DLGF and say, hey, can you open up Gateway? I have adjustments to make. The council made however many 100 changes, and I need to make those changes. Right. It's as simple as that. Then you resubmit it. It's not uncommon. Well, it's uncommon for here, because I don't think we've had to do that before, because it has been 2 or 3 changes or something as simple as that. So
that's insane. First of all,
I'm concerned that the wrong budget was submitted to the state, and that if I hadn't said something, that's the budget that the state would have certified.
I'm sure that's your narrative tonight. You always come in with the narrative, but I don't know what your question is.
I want to know how this happened.
The auditor's office would not have submitted, and the state would not have certified a budget that the county council did not vote to approve.
But he did submit it.
No, he submitted the forms. That the work to prepare those forms had been done prior to that meeting, because that's what it takes, because it takes dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of hours to do that. So again, we can keep trying to be adversarial, and we can argue over these petty things, or we can understand that the process that the state allows for massive changes like this. Are we going to allow the disrespectful behavior?
Please restrain themselves.
That was me. I'm being told to restrain myself.
No.
pause this.
If I could finish.
Horseshit. That's stupid. This is a public meeting. You weren't outbursting. These people need to grow a pair and figure out how to do this. Catherine said, what did you say?
I just said petty. Your budget's petty.
You said petty. Yeah, right. If they can't handle being called out on their nonsense, they should stop saying stupid shit.
It's a $43.5 million budget. I don't think it's a very petty thing.
Right. No, right.
Now I want to point out a couple things.
Restrain yourself.
Rick at one point starts shouting at Jody that she needs to learn how to do simple math, right? And that she can't do math problems. And he's going on and on and on about this math thing. I'm trying to find my comment that I had made on Facebook, because it was eloquently written, of course. So then he talks about, we have 700, it'll take days, and Rob Steele comes. So Rob Steele, Diana Likens, Ben Gale, and Anthony Emery are all in the good old boys club. These are all Russ Willis's picks. Rick Gardner. So then they say, do you know how much overtime that it would cause his deputies? And he did all this. At another breath, Rick ends up fixing the 700 different changes on face or in one day, right? He changes it one day. So what happens is, you know, as he's talking about how difficult the 700 changes there are, and he's telling them how to do math, I got home and I was talking this over, you know, with Steve, and he said, look at this. He said, you got 700 changes. They're sitting there the whole time putting the changes in as we're going through it in that 6-hour meeting. So really it's just a plug and chug. If Rick can remember that from math class, plug and chug. If you've got 700 changes and you've got 5 days to do it, and then you divide it between, so if you divide it by 5, you know, and then you've got 14 deputies. And out of those 14 deputies, you divide it by 8 hours, you've got about 1.25 changes per deputy every day, every hour for 5 days. Where's the overtime? And as a matter of fact, that's a bold-faced lie, Mr. Steele. And I'm going to tell you that because Rick Gardner just said he changed it in one day. So they don't even listen to themselves. These people can't even get out of their own way. And then tells Jody to do math. Clearly she can do the math. As a matter of fact, she probably could have put in the right budget. You know what's even more interesting is the taxpayers. I don't know if you know this in Madison County. We pay, I can't remember the name right now off the top of my head. We pay an accounting firm between $300,000 and $400,000 a year to do Rick's job. And he still can't submit the right budget.
Yeah.
So if you ask me, you want to know what the agenda is, Rick, even though we had that long meeting, you turned in the good old boys budget because you thought nobody would discover it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and wait till you see some of the other ways he speaks to these guys. It gets crazy.
Yeah, all right. Go ahead and yeah, you can start that from there.
The state is aware of the budget and they have the budget that the council passed.
Yes.
That is what is going to be certified. And you did what you felt you could do to make that happen within the allowable amount of work hours that we budget for your people.
Yes.
Remember, he could have had people work a lot of overtime to make all of those changes happen faster and completely blown his budget. So which would you rather him do? Take a little bit of extra time or spend money that he didn't have?
So I communicated with President Steele that the wrong budget had been submitted. He communicated with Mr. Gardner. You texted
And
me
I
that.
said that I had talked with
Originally,
him
you
and
told
he
me.
was still working.
Oh, by the way, Diana had gotten up right there. She's not in her seat because she went to get the cops because we were getting too unruly in there. She wanted crowd control.
Low software.
Loud software.
Loud software has to go in there first.
Pause this.
And then it gets up.
I was in a Madison County meeting probably in the fall of 2020, and I was mouthing them from the seats, and they had two brownie county mountie brownies coming to get me, and I was like, you might want to just stand right there, little boy. I forget what the guy's name was, some young kid, and he's like, I'm not coming to get you. I'm not coming to get you. I was like, no, I know you're not. And so I just kept mouthing him. So yeah, I like playing with the county deputies that are there. I gotta start coming back to the Madison County, man. I don't understand. So real quick before we start this, because you talked about Todd Baldridge, and I want to say this real quick. What's his name? Todd Baldridge?
Todd Baldridge,
Baldridge. I just want to say this. I need to clear the air. I've said this before to a lot of times, but I want to make this perfectly clear again to everybody watching this. I've been involved with Madison County politics prior to this partnering with Katherine several months ago. Back in 2020, I got involved with Madison County politics, and I didn't know anybody there. A couple people asked me to get involved, but they didn't say like do this or that. They just said like look into stuff. So I came over there and I started poking around, and in pretty quick order, I was scooped up. Now, and I've always said this about Madison County. I have a really, really good understanding of people politically, and I can normally smell out the wrong people. When I came over there, I was quickly scooped up under Rick Gardner, John Richwine, and a couple of them. And I was buddy with these people, and I was fighting the other side for just a short period of time, which would technically ended up being you and people that's on your side of things. And in pretty quick order, I realized, hey, something is wrong here. I don't like this. And so since I was spread too thin, I just bowed out of it. And I was like, all right, peace out. You guys are wrong. So there were times that I think maybe Todd and I might have been adversarial a little bit, but not because I've got any issue, just because when I first came in, I didn't know the players and I kind of scooped in on the wrong side of things for a while, but I bowed out quickly because I realized that things were wrong. So I just want to clear the air with Mr. Baldridge and anybody else over there. I've said this multiple times, but I just wanted to use that opportunity. I tagged Rick just a few seconds ago in this episode, by the way, so he can
And Todd Baldridge is an excellent man, and he is trying to make the county better.
I just and that's what I want to say for my part in anything that's ever been said. Like I said, I've got no ill will towards these people, and I quickly realized who was bad and who was good, and it wasn't the whole Rich Wine thing. You know, it was very easy. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah,
okay.
So you see how they'll circle their wagons to take good people out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Todd kind of got hit in the middle of that.
Yeah. Go ahead and hit play on here.
Spreadsheet, and then the spreadsheet in the gateway. There's a whole process, and they were still auditing the data to make sure it was correct in all 3 locations before it was submitted.
Originally, Rob, you told me that Rick was out of his way out of the office, and maybe Todd had uploaded the wrong budget to the program, and that you were going to look in, and that he was going to look into it. And then your final text to me was that they hadn't gotten all the data and entered into the system yet, and that they were correcting it.
Hold right there for 1 second. Hold there for 1 second.
Jody
just said that Rick threw Todd under the bus and that Todd submitted the wrong thing. What I want to point out to everybody in Madison County, I like Todd Culp. Todd Culp.
Todd Culp,
like
his chief deputy.
Yeah. Yep. Todd's always been good to us in the coroner's office, right? But I will tell you this. If that is true, Todd Culp is running as auditor for Madison County. So people need to keep this understanding in their head then. If Rick just threw his buddy under the bus and said that was Rick's or Todd's fault, I don't know. So you can just go ahead and play, but I just want to let you know that.
You were re-entering all the changes you've made. I know what your narrative is here tonight. We uploaded the forms as they were based on what was input into those forms prior to your budget adoption. We had to go back and do all that work again.
I understand that.
Okay, then. What's your question?
I understand that you had to input the information in order to get an ordinance. I understand that. And that information would have been Rob's budget because that was the $43.5 million budget that we were going to be passing. But according to the DLGF, after that adoption hearing, after we adopted a hearing, nothing should have been submitted to the state until those changes were changed in Gateway. That's what we are being told from the DLGF. And that obviously was not done when it was submitted because it wasn't on Gateway that way. And we know from the DLGF that you submitted it the same day as that we passed it at about 1:35 in the afternoon. None of those changes were made. And honestly, I don't think if we hadn't said something on the 31st, I don't know that you guys would have done any changes based upon.
I'm sure that's your narrative.
If that's an assumption.
That's an assumption, and I'm really kind of sick of the assumptions. I sat in your spot for 6 years, and I've been now where I'm at 7 years. We haven't had this problem till you showed up.
Well, you know what? If this
we had a 7 year, we had a 7 hour, we had a 7 hour meeting that went into the next day. All the work leading up to that had to be totally redone again. We have to go in to Lao Financial and hand enter every one of those changes. Okay. Normally we would take Lao Financial, download it into a flat file and upload it into Gateway. Well, we're not able to do that when we have to go back and make those changes. Those hundreds.
That's your job.
You can't do it just in a file upload. You had to go line by line. So after you went into your spreadsheet, which you have to make sure all those were right, went to Lao Financial and entered them all, then went to Gateway and entered them all, and then compared to 3 again. We don't do things as simply as you think it is. We have to check and double check things.
But
Well,
the
with all
other
due
thing is that
respect-
you're something.
Double
you
check
talk
when
to
he
the
submitted?
LTF,
Well,
they
if you
said that
checked
should
and
be done
double
this
checked,
way. Rick
how
has
did this
it.
happen?
There are always alternatives and
Yes.
corrections. They took 2 roads to get to the same place. It's correct now, is it not?
Well, I don't know, because I've asked at least twice for a copy of the workbook that we did that evening, and I've been told I couldn't have it.
You got the same thing everybody else did. What
I thought Rick said.
I did, I said,
He
this
sent
is,
the
this is
budget out.
another
He sent
accusation.
the budget out. He did not send the
Exactly.
workbook. I wanted to see the workbook, just like you sent us the workbook the Friday before of Rob's budget. I wanted to see the workbook, Rob.
Did you not have a workbook that you were working out of during the council meeting, during the
Yes, and
7-hour meeting?
shame on me for not having
Okay.
recorded all the
Okay,
changes.
so you're saying you didn't have your work, so you want me to go do your work again? I sent
the
you the
auditor.
budget.
It's his
No,
job.
I
He's
want
the
to
auditor.
Have the book, Todd, if you have the workbook that we worked on, if we can, I thought that was already sent out. I didn't look at all the files. Because I offloaded.
Yes, the workbook itself? No, because that's not what you asked. You asked for the budget and I sent you the budget,
Todd made all the changes in the workbook that night online,
right?
and I would like a
But we
copy of
amended
that
in the
workbook.
meeting.
I would like a
gotta say
copy of
what
the
you mean.
workbook that we amended.
I don't have a problem with that.
I thought it
And
had to
I've
be
asked
sent
for
back
that, and
out.
I was told I couldn't have it.
Who's
until
that
after the council
dude?
meeting, that we had changes that we had
Mikhail?
to make.
Yeah.
And I
Is
said,
he good or
No,
bad?
I told-
understood, and I said,
Mikhail-
can I
Mikhail's
got your
good.
email here, and I said, can I
Okay.
please have
Yeah,
a copy of
Yeah,
it
Mik-
anyway?
Yeah, Mikhail's good.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
And here's
So-
what I
so
want to
for-
point out real quick.
That's right, because I told you what I was.
Todd is in the
Right,
room.
you asked for
Todd
something.
Cole, Chief Deputy Auditor, is in the room.
Yeah,
And
he's
does
sitting like
not
over
come
here
up
behind
here
him.
and help. Does not
Yeah,
come up here
why?
and help. I don't know. And if you're running in an elected position, why wasn't he up there? Why didn't he do something? I don't understand this. This just totally floors me, because Rick and those guys are costing Todd Colt the election.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, who's running against him?
Nobody has mentioned that yet. So if you look at the Madison County Auditor's Office,
Yeah.
Rick Gardner is using that page so Rick is using his government page and budget to get his name out there for his run. And so people are already, so we've already taken pictures of it, and I made negative comments to the county people praising him, and the dumbass deleted my comments. How can elected officials delete people's comments?
They can't. So Rick did that?
Rick did that. Rick just deleted.
All right. So
comment.
what I'll do then is I might issue a records request asking him to show cause for why he's done that. If they do delete that stuff, then they have to show that you were being like vulgar, violent, and I'm assuming that you weren't being.
Well, it wasn't me, and the person who posted certainly wasn't. He's just as educated as me, and
Yeah.
and so it's quite interesting. But I don't know how you just go and delete people's stuff. You're elected officials. If you don't want to be critiqued, don't run for it.
I'm sad to hear that. Okay, are we playing from here now?
Yeah, go
Well, I
ahead.
said, as soon as we check these and compile them, then I'm going to send them out, which I did to all 7 council members and the 3 commissioners.
So Councilwoman North and Councilman Bond had asked for the budget, and you did not send it to them, and that's when I get a phone call, hey, do you have a copy of what we passed? And I said, no, but I can get on Indiana Gateway and get it for you. And when I did on October 31st, I find Rob Steele's proposal as what had been submitted.
I'm sure you did, because we did not have our work done yet, because you changed the entire budget in a 7-hour meeting on adoption night. That doesn't happen anywhere in the state. That's a failure on the council's part, for you to take 7 hours to pass a budget when you're supposed to get that ready. And on the night of the adoption is just like, you've already figured it all out. Here's the budget ordinance.
Well, that's what happens
No.
when only 3 council members go to meet with the auditor to create a budget, instead of
Right
sitting
there.
down in a public meeting and us hashing through the budget as a group. That could have been done ahead of time.
This auditor's
And that's
office
something that we asked.
has never created the budget. We enter what we're asked to enter only.
3 council members sat down with you and created a budget, went through a budget process.
Did not create a
What
budget.
considers a
I did
quorum,
not create a
Chris?
budget. I made
What?
entries that council members asked me.
What considers a quorum?
Now, hold
So
on.
we're going
I'm
to
not
start
talking
with
about
3?
that.
Wow.
Well, so there's 7 of them. A quorum
So-
would be 4.
So what's your question?
They know what they're doing.
It's not so much a question, Rick, it's, you're right, it's ridiculous that we had a council meeting till 1:30 in the morning. I agree. But when a council doesn't work
Pause
together
this.
as a body,
It
we
is.
sit down
Listen,
and work and-
You got 6.
for 1 second. First of all, I've got to say, I want to say this, and I hate this because I'm getting excited. So first and foremost, normally, like when we watch stuff, I'm the one that's pushing play and pause, so I can just do that. So it sounds like I'm barking out orders. I'm not barking them out at Catherine, and it sounds like I'm barking them out, and I am barking them out to Kate, but I'm not meaning to. I'm not. So I appreciate everything Kate's doing generally, but how we set this up tonight.
Crying my
I know. I'm normally the one pressing play and stuff, so I'm not doing that. So I very much
want you to
appreciate
be able to pay attention to comments tonight. So I'm handling the video.
and I'm so thankful that you're doing that. And I don't mean to bark them out or whatever. I just get excited. I want to say this to Rick's defense for just a second. Yeah, he's kind of right. Like you normally don't see a city council or county council or town council doing this kind of stuff. Yes, Jackie. Yes, ma'am, it is. It is the Madison County Council and the Madison County. That is a great picture there. They need to get of Rick pointing. Hold on. Do we know how to screenshot? Did you know how to screenshot, Kate? Do that. I'd like to get that picture. Anyways, Rick is right. I can say he's right. It's not normal that they take a passage meeting when they, because there is by law when a date and a time that this has to be passed. So he's right, but I'm not saying that it can't happen or that it shouldn't happen if it needs to happen. And if it needs to happen, then you do the work that you're supposed to do. Okay. Oh yeah. Hey, hello there, Councilman Vaughn. If you do the work you're supposed to do, I've been to council meetings in Muncie that have lasted 7 and 8 hours. They're not fun. Nobody enjoys them. Nobody wants to do it. But at the end of the day, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 counselors. I see an auditor who all went down to their clerk's office and signed on a piece of paper to run for office and to do the job of public servant for the public. There's an appointed attorney there. Nobody's there with a gun to their head. So what they need to do is they need to do the damn job. And if sometimes it requires hard work at the 2-minute warning, and you got to take 7 hours to do it, shut your mouth, do the work, and do what you're supposed to do, and don't whine and bitch about it. It is what it is. You know, if you can't do the tough work, then resign. There's other people in line that will do it. So we calling somebody? Is that me? Hello? Oh no, I think that's the doctor.
Yes, ma'am.
Mikhail Vaughn wants to come on.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, you're talking to Kate. Ha! I can hear you too. Okay, wait. So, yeah, we heard you. So, do we know how to do that? Does he know how to do that?
Well, she's working on it. She's getting him queued up. So
well, this could be interesting.
He can add more to this than me. I mean, all I'm doing is bringing this to light. But play some more of the video.
All right. Well, hit play there, pretty please.
She might be trying to get him queued up, and we're
people you need to talk to, not me. We'll talk to them about it then.
I am saying it to the council right now. We asked at the budget meetings, at the budget hearings, when we met department heads, what's next? We wanted to sit down and have a public meeting to go over this budget and to create a budget together. And our response was, the response back with us is that is a waste of time. So because there was no feedback on anything that I had been proposing, no feedback whatsoever. And then the night of the budget hearing, they submit a budget that 3 council members said, this is our budget. This is what we're doing. And I'm like, excuse me, we're not going to have any discussion about that. So yeah, we failed as a council to do a proper budget.
President Steele, I would like to suggest that obviously the council should have discussion about the 24 calendar year 25 budget year process, but that's probably something more appropriate to have during January, February, March of next year, so that we can maybe all get our heads together and do that. Because we definitely do need to have something that is maybe a written process that there's input. For tonight, though, I feel like we can get really off track and go down a lot of different paths with this topic. Or we could actually get, have a time on the agenda to discuss those issues. So I would go back to the question of, is there a motion and a second, and what was that, and could we maybe stick to the agenda and
The motion
I
to
haven't
amend
gotten to
the
speak yet.
The motion.
Miguel, I've got some, may I speak, please? I've been patient.
They're very rude to Mikhail. Very rude.
Why?
I don't know. And Mikhail's up for election, just so everybody
Okay,
knows.
there's a lot of things been said from Mr. Gardner, Councilman Nord, Councilman Keller. I made a timeline. You can't just blow things in and out and say things. I spent multiple phone calls down at the state. And I want to go through this timeline. And what I was hoping is firstly do that, and then Mr. Gardner can answer the question. So in the timeline, there's a question.
And watch Rick, how rude he is. He'll eventually just go sit down while he's speaking.
From the timeline, we closed the meeting at 12:38.
No,
at our
Karen.
last meeting in the morning.
Several meetings.
We amended the budget. We took a 2/3 vote. So I asked Mr. Colt for it. He said, I texted him October 20th at 3:34 p.m. Not yet. I've got the tax rate funded, but Nikki is out of the office. She knows how you like them the way. So Tuesday, October 31st, this is how this went. It's going to be transparent to the whole council. I'm not going to point fingers. I'm going to say what I've learned. Love for Mr. Gardner to answer the question. I'm not going to sit here and accuse. I'm just going to tell you what everything has happened. So I called Councilwoman Keller. I asked her if she got a copy of the amended budget. We did. She said no. She suggested we look on Gateway. We both had our laptops. We found that they submitted Mr. Steele's budget and the one that was met with the author. At that time, I called Councilwoman North. She didn't answer. She called back. Then she called President Steele. President Steele says you know nothing about it, that it's wrong. So he called Auditor Rick Gardner. At that time, he was calling Chief Deputy Todd Colt. They ran up here to see. They couldn't fix it then. Mr. Gardner called at 9:02 a.m. to Mr. Fred Vandroff, whatever. And they opened it back up. At that time, I called the sheriff to make sure his budget was right. And we're discovering that there was no changes made. It was me and Councilwoman Keller looked through the whole budget before I proceeded to ask any more questions or anything, and nothing was changed. So then I called Fred, Mr. Randolph, down. He's the division chief of the DLGF. He stated, Mr. Gardner called at 9:02 a.m. Now, this is October 31st, remind you, we passed this and made the changes. We did not receive that. Back up 1 second, Councilwoman Norick, for Gardner, there was emails, got everything documented and everything here. Basically what happened was we didn't want anything else. I got told an email back from Mr. Gardner that they need to do some things in November's meeting. The only thing I was interested in, and it was cleared by Councilwoman Norick's email, that we just wanted adopted changes, amended changes. it was done, which we should have. It was late. That's the only thing I wanted because that's what we voted on that meeting.
Right.
Then
Right.
me and Fred had another conversation. I had a conversation with Councilwoman Nark on the phone, a three-way call, and also Councilwoman Keller. He's been with the state in over 92 counties. He sees many different budgets. And he said he never seen anything like this. So they go back in, they open up back the budget, and at 2:32 p.m., they resubmitted the budget back down to the state. Now, Councilwoman Keller was on the phone with Fred Benda, the division chief, and he explained to me what the auditor did. And he's explaining to me the program. It's a lot. And I can show you countless calls, countless minutes, and learning. I'm like Hughes, I want to know what happened. Because this is dangerous. Let me tell you why it's dangerous. I hope you guys appreciate what I did. Because I don't know what happens. I've listened to the state, DLGF. And they said, if you didn't catch this after November 8th, and this passed down there, which at that time, Rick didn't know it was, Mr. Gardner didn't know it was not changed. At that time, everything happened all at once, I think. You got a hold of him, and October 31st, he didn't realize what happened, what he said, the information I get. So if this would have went through, we would have had to spend countless hours, countless meetings next. You can't fix something after November 8th until that following January. So we avoided a train wreck, but we have to redo the ordinances and everything else. Now, I requested something that should have been gave to the council. And there's no reason he said I shouldn't have got it. I had Mr. Culp tell me I'm going to get it. And now later on, the emails are all, any council members forward emails to Mr. Gardner. The bottom line is, I'm not trying to, this was a dangerous and a lot of work situation. I don't know what happened here. But we need to figure it out because this ain't right. Some of this is unacceptable. I asked for it adopted, what we amended that budget that night. That should be the easiest Fred said as they should have got in there and they could have emailed it to you. Now,
he's on. We're getting ready to pull him up here in a minute.
From what I understand from Fred, is
fast forward it to when you see Rick's hand back up.
They do.
And look how Rick addresses him, because McKell will explain it himself when he gets on.
Okay.
Show everyone. You have.
Do you have a timestamp on that?
I think if you just another couple minutes, just fast forward. Can you just hit the fast forward button?
Like hit like a couple seconds at a time.
What they did.
Minutes.
I'm playing this like. I believe I called.
So just keep going forward.
So they got the column over here. And you guys, that's why you have the ODL law, which you should have known being a prior council.
This is good enough.
Obviously, some
You'll
people
see.
go all in.
What's your question?
The question is, you asked me what I mean. So you go up to the presented budget, by a few keystrokes, you take that presented budget and then what was cutted or whatever have exactly. You made a budget and sent it down. The 43.5 was submitted. The LGF saw that. Brad Love was looking at it with me on the phone. So you submitted raw budget with the 43.5. They don't look at line items, he said. They just look at the bottom line number.
Thank you. That answers the question. They don't look, the DLGF does not look at the line item budget. They look at forms 3 and 4. They don't even look at the others. The only reason for going back to form 1, which we have every intention of doing, was when you called and asked for the budget from us, we were still working in LAO. We were still working in our line.
What's the budget? I just wondered what we adopted or that amendments we did that night.
That's a separate question. I mean, you're asking multiple questions with,
Well, it's a lot, but everyone will blurt out everything.
Well, you're saying a few keystrokes and you just bring the budget over and upload it. That's false.
It's not the budget, the line items. You take it over to proposed,
It had multiple.
over to the adopted.
False. That's false.
Well, then.
You don't understand.
See how they protect each other?
I'm not done
You
yet.
can Copy and paste it,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't have worked because the proposed and what we adopted was so different. He would have had to go in and
Exactly.
and individually
They
change
did theirs
things.
with the 40, it said
But that's
they
his
submitted
job.
43.5, and so they made cut.
Your budget ordinance, the reason we told you the night of the budget adoption that you could not change it by a penny was because your budget ordinance was already spit out from a Gateway based on entries that was leading up to the meeting. That's what I've tried to tell you. Leading up to the meeting, forms 1, 2, 3, 4, all those have to be done prior to the meeting, and then you're going to get your budget ordinance. The reason your budget could not change by 1 cent is because you would not have a ordinance that would represent what you passed at that 43.5, because they're looking at the whole number. That now the public piece of it, the Form 1, that's what generates all that.
That's what he said.
And it gets you to that 43.5. Okay? So if you change,
Because you have to make changes to the cuts down to 43.5, correct? Right.
well, yeah, you have to pass what that adopted ordinance says on that night. So you can make all these other changes you want to, which you did, hundreds of them, but you're still at 43.5.
Why does it get so hung
your
up about
budget
that?
ordinance, you would have had to if you remember, we talked about re-advertising, having another meeting, all that, but the timeline didn't allow for that because you have a public hearing, 10 days between the public hearing and the adoption date, and then you're past the November 1st.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, let me ask
But
you.
when you're saying a couple clicks and move stuff over, that's incorrect. What we done was took your spreadsheet that you passed that night, and we entered every single line, one by one, into our financial software.
Then how's the wrong budget get set down?
You know,
I think, Rick, where we have a problem is the fact, I get that.
I'd like to finish my story if I could. Rob, would you allow me to do that?
Please, just,
Okay,
I think we spent.
we spent enough time on it because
I
it
really want
doesn't
to
make
learn
any
as much.
sense.
I didn't want to accuse. I want to learn. I'm hearing what he said.
Okay, if you let me finish, I'll be able to tell you that. So when we got your spreadsheet that night, we have a bunch of work to do.
You said spreadsheet.
Your spreadsheet, you're calling it a workbook,
I'm not calling
this spreadsheet. So the spreadsheet that we created, a tool for you guys to use. That's something we do for you. We don't have to create that spreadsheet. We'll just take the budget in, print them out, and give them to you, and you can do your budget. It doesn't matter to us. We try to help you.
We should have
Good
got,
question.
really at the end of the meeting, we should have got what we voted. Because
That's okay.
Because Todd called, set up there and change it up there. And here's the thing, I want to make sure what we voted on that night as a council member, the changes was made. He made those changes right there.
I
And Brett
understand
said
that.
all you had to do is email it to us.
In the future, if you ask somebody for something, I mean, Jody's come to me when she didn't get stuff. Please.
I did have 2 years prior to this, I didn't have a problem. This is the first, Ken out there said something about and you guys totally ignored it.
What's working together means.
And I'm trying.
Just ask.
But
I'd like to go ahead and finish if I could. So when you guys
Jesus.
made all your changes that night, 700 changes or however many hundred it was, I didn't count them. What are you laughing?
because I don't think it was that.
Well, you changed almost every pay line. There's 700 something employees, so it's more than 700 then. I don't know. So after you make all those changes, we go to our financial software. You don't just download that down in your
It's
financial.
nothing about
Can I
downloading.
finish, please? I know, that's what I'm trying to tell you. You're not listening. You say click a couple buttons. It's not click a couple
Said
buttons.
move it over to different departments. Exactly what it works. You go to each department.
You're
you move over.
misunderstanding what Mr. Van Dorp has told you.
Well,
So
then we need
if
to
you'll
have a
let me
meeting.
finish, I'll tell you the process and I'll tell you why it even took longer. Normally, leading up to the budget, we would go through all the gateway process, lead up to the budget, print out a budget ordinance based on all that work. Well, that work had to be redone after you had your 7-hour meeting. All that work had to be redone. The way it's redone is we took what you done in your spreadsheet that night while we're juggling things you guys are wanting and trying to do our work that has to be done. We took your spreadsheet, we entered that into Lao Financial. Okay, if you look at the, you're talking about timelines. If you look at the timeline when we put that in Lao Financial, we weren't done or barely done with the tax rates by the time you asked. We weren't far enough along that we could upload into Gateway again. Then when we got ready to upload into Gateway, the system will not allow you to upload a flat file in and change that on the changes you made that night on the adoption date. So therefore, we had to go through every single line and enter them by hand in every category and all 50 budgets. You didn't just pass the general fund budget. There's 50 budgets you passed. So in every one of those line items, we had to check every single one of them because we went back into Lao Financial is where we go first. So your budget that you're claiming that was up at the state that we had not changed yet was already in Lao Financial, the very one that you passed by the time you asked. Our next stop is Gateway to correct all those lines. We could not upload that again because the system would not allow you to upload it. So we had to go into Gateway now and those however many lines at 700 and something employees plus everything else in 50 budgets. Now we had to manually enter those into Gateway to make those changes. It wasn't as simple as pushing a button and uploading it. We had to change the whole thing, but we're not going to put it into Gateway without making the changes and checking it and double checking it to your spreadsheet, the Lao Financial.
But he did put it in. The wrong budget went in.
Talking about a lot of time here, Mr. Gardner. You're talking, you submitted at 1:32 the next day. You didn't even know what happened until you got the phone call from the county president.
Yep.
Then you
We're still
called Mr.
working
Cole
on
to come up here and try to change
We're
it.
sticking.
And next, so you haven't
Councilman
submitted.
Bond.
Hold on,
Councilman-
no, don't interrupt me, sir. Please
You're
don't.
out of order.
I'm not
No, it's
out of
not.
order.
You are.
Ask a question, we're in a discussion on the floor, so you can let him interrupt anytime he
Yep.
wants.
Could
Yep.
I ask a question at some point here? What authority do you think you have over my reporting?
What
What-
authority do you
They're the
think you have,
council.
sir?
I'm not asking for
I
any
passed
authority
the
other
budget
than
I
what,
couldn't even get. I'm gonna have to next time, obviously from now on, since you're in office,
what authority,
have a public asset.
what authority do you have over the auditor, the treasurer, the surveyor,
What
the
authority do you think
judges?
I'm trying
What
to do?
authority do you think you
What
have?
authority do you think I'm doing, sir?
I don't know what you're doing.
Well, you're
You're making a
just
big
asked what authority,
gentlemen,
what authority am I
gentlemen,
trying to have?
Gentlemen, can we stick with the issues in
Well,
our
this
job
is-
as a council?
I would agree.
Because we've gone farther, and I got with Rick, Jody, and,
This is
I said we made some mistakes as far as timing on our budget.
Chris, maybe you can explain what the county council's oversight on the auditor is.
well, yeah. I mean,
They do the budget.
the auditor is an elected official, so he's standalone, just like any of the other elected officials. No one has really any more, authority over anyone than the other. But in the role that he is right now, he's the secretary of the council.
That's right.
So he's
supposed
there to
report it.
do
Yes.
their secretarial work. So it's while they can't be like, all right, you're fired. It's the citizens' job to do that. He's there to do their bidding, and you just tell that there's obviously a faction
Well, we brought
here
Mikhail's
the attitude.
impromptu
Here's-
here.
Yeah, here he
wasn't
is.
dressed. He would have dressed up for us. Usually he's dressed up
Oh,
for us.
no,
when he
hey,
presents
I get it.
everybody. So
I've still been doing, my attorney has me doing legal research. This ain't ending Tuesday night, so it's a lot going on. I do appreciate Catherine, and I know Rick's watching now, so I love Rick to come on. Let's tell the truth. He can't interrupt me right now. So I'd rather have Callahan in my ear than him right now. He's probably going to be number one.
we don't always
Let
see
me
eye to
just
eye,
say
Mikhail
something.
and I. So
Well, it's not, I think it's love fight, but let me just try to be simple
Yeah.
for you folks. I've been in politics since 15 here. I was a Democrat. And I'm 48 years old. I'm a Republican. So a lot of people, let's jump in right where you left it off right there when the commotion was happening. Number one, we have Robert Rules of Order. And when you have the floor, you're supposed to acknowledge, and I don't do them to them guys. Obviously, you see, I think, Mr. Bilbrey, that you got me, Councilwoman Keller, and myself. You can see the kind of divide there with the four.
Sure.
So would you like me to go through the start of October and just do a simple run through? Okay. So, for the last 2 years, Ken from the newspaper, said you guys are violating the open door law. Now Ken's done coverage in Howard County and different places. And so I have an attorney on staff. And he's my campaign chairman, John Manley. Very good. He's just very good at what he does. He's a good lawyer, does federal court and stuff. So I take this job serious. I study it. I study the statutes and the laws. So I become aware of the open door law. So that Tuesday night before I walked in, Ken walked up the newspaper from Harold Bolton, Ken Balstein, and he said, "Are you going to mention it?" And I said, "We got a 26-page document ready to go to file in Circuit Court 3 if they try to pass this budget." Because they did violate the open door law. Councilman Diana Likens, Councilman Rob Steele, and help me out, Catherine. My head.
Those two are up for
Gail.
election. Do not vote for them.
Emory didn't go in there, so it was Gail, Likens, and Steele, Likens, and Gail went in there and met with Rick Gardner, the auditor, which is kind of funny to me because Rick is a prior councilman. He likes to point at me. I should know my job after 3 years. He should know he's broken the ODL law, and I did call him out on that. He didn't really say too much because he knows he's guilty. So they knew what they were doing is wrong. So a little confusion during the meeting. So with detail of understanding what a workbook and the budget. So anyway, in October, when this all fiasco happened, basically what I said was, if you pass this budget, I will file in the morning injunction on the budget. And what that details is the judge will hold the budget. An injunction is they can't do anything with it because they violated ODL, the open door law. Then Councilman Steele admitted there's also a second part of this. I believe Laureen White educated me, and she just texted me, and it's called a serial meeting. And the serial meeting takes place when they meet on the budget on the same topic 3 or 4 times in 1 week, which he admitted to that. So that could have been added to the lawsuit, which they kind of told themselves. So we went through that budget. So I have several text messages on my phone. So let's fast forward. The chief deputy Todd Cole that night in the computer what I was talking about, we went through line item. There at 12:38 in the morning, like Catherine said, very long meeting. And he made those changes as we went through the budget line item. Well, he saved that. And so I text him. Now we were communicating his chief deputy, and I'm sure Rick's hearing all this. So let's just tell everything. I'm very open, baby. Let's do it. So I text him, and he was out of office on Friday. October 19th was my birthday. So I remember this date quite well. So he said, "I'm out of office. You'll have everything on Monday." Now, all I wanted is, as a county councilman, I think Mr. Bilbrey and Catherine understand it, and I hope your audience does. I have a job to do. As Rick wanted to call me out, I can appropriate money, unappropriate money, and do transfers. I'm the checks and balances. We do strictly with financial. So our biggest job as elected is the budget. Yeah. So we made a lot of amendments that night. I mean, I don't know how Rick goes from 100 to 700, but I don't get that, but okay. But so all I did is wanted to make sure the changes. Councilwoman Norick has emailed him. I got all the emails, and all of a sudden, and you're talking about they submitted. So I'll go when I start learning stuff. So I need to slow down here. It's a lot. It's a lot of work, and it's just a lot. So so I asked for that. I kept asking for it. Now I'm sitting here in my chair October 31st where I am now. Something's not right. I have good relationships with other county presidents through the state of Indiana. And so I call Bethany Keller on the phone at 1:31. I go into work at 3. And I said, "Bethany, have you asked for the copy of any changes we made that night when we made amendments?" And she said, "No, but I got my computer right here. So let's look on Gateway, McKell." As again, we work as a good team. These ladies are smart. And that's why I'm very blessed to have them on the council. And so we look down there and she goes, "Look at this, McKell. They submitted Rob Steele's budget." And I was like, okay. So I called Jody. Jody didn't answer. I was going to do it freeway. So I called the sheriff. and had his financial gal look. I said, you need to have Kim look it down at Gateway's budget. Well, he's mad. They didn't put any that we're supposed to put a matrix system in to try to be competitive, Mr. Bilbrey, for the jails around us to keep employees. We've been having a problem with that. So this is all voted on. It's legalized. It's final vote. So nothing was down there. So then Jody calls back, explain. So Bethany emails Rick and asks about it. Now this is to remind you, the next day he submitted, let me not go there right yet, because I want to make sure the DLGF said what they said to me on the phone.
It's not the next day, Mikhail.
Well, no, but I want to make sure it's not my words, Ms. Callahan. I want to make sure it's the DLGF and be,
Yeah, you're
because it's
good.
not Mikhail's. It's actually state officials that have told me, well, they told me, because they have copy, they have record of that. So anyway, so we get on this and we're like, what is going on? It's like, obviously, you back up to the October meeting, Rick was way in favor of this budget. He got up there. I went to the councilman and, so anyway, so as this goes on, I call our county representative, which is our 6th county representative. And I said, did you speak to Mr. Gardner? The auditor that called down, he said, I did not. That was Mr. Fred Van Dopp. And I said, well, he goes, here's his number, go ahead and call him. So we got on the phone and he said, so now you got to understand, we adjourn. And this is what I tried to do, attempt it on a timeline, but I guess people can't be respectful to Robert's order. Rick had to continue to interrupt. That's just he can't help it. Yeah. Maybe he didn't take his medicine that night. I don't know. But I basically, after Fred instructed me, because this is new to me, I never had to do this. I've been on a prior house the past 2 years. We never had this issue, but we never had caught him in the ODL and you had to have 2/3 of vote. Sure. And we never had 3 people. So I always had just actually a Democrat backed me up in the last 2 years and got Jody on and Bethany on. So we couldn't make the vote. So Fred proceeded to tell me, your auditor called down here at 9:02 a.m. and asked to unlock the budget. Now, a couple of things I really want to key in here to very laser focus on as we continue with this, and I'll let you know that to know he's telling the story. So here's another key to really focus on. So Jody calls the councilman President Steele and said, Mikhail got on the DLGF website and said, you guys submitted the wrong budget, Rob's budget and Rick's budget, because they all met together. So basically what happened was Rob calls Rick and says, hey, Mikhail got on there, and Rick says, oh, I didn't know the wrong budget was sent down. So he calls Todd Culp, the chief deputy, and they run up to the auditor's office, but they can't unlock it. All of a sudden, 9:32, and he's got all this work, all these 700 changes, folks. He got from 100 to 700. Woo! Oh my God, blow my mind, all this overtime. Okay, so at 2:30, what did Mr. Van Dopp said? At 2:30 or maybe 3:02, somewhere I'm 30 minutes off, he submits the correct budget. Huh. Now he tells a different story in front of the council on Tuesday, or this last Tuesday night. So he didn't know it was. Now, why didn't he simply, if he was telling the truth in front of the council, as you folks saw, why didn't he just say, I'm still working on the budget?
Yeah.
By making changes. Why? That was that simple. Because he got caught with his pants down again.
Yeah.
And so as we go on with this, I probably called down and had conversations, Fred, 12 conversations. Now, Bethany Keller is Rick. I want you to listen to this, Rick Gardner. The little girl you call little girl is a very smart lady. And mind you, she just had 3 small kids. So she goes on, Mr. Bilbrey, watches an hour and a half of the video of instruction how the auditor's supposed to spend the budget. Has 3 pages of notes. Very smart lady. Very Bethany Keller is. So basically what we got here is Rick will do anything to get his way. And they broke the ODL. I caught him at that. So if you're so busy with the 700 changes, so what Mr. Van Dopp told me right on the phone, we was on the phone like an hour and 15 minutes. And he said, basically, when you put a 45-3 in, when the workshops and all the departments submitted their budget, and this is uniform through the state of Indiana, all 92 counties do this. So you submit that to the state. Then you're supposed to have public meetings. Carroll County, let me accept. President of the council, we become friends the last 2 years. And I know Mr. Bilbrey, you said something about Madison County. He calls this a mafia county. Because you guys are a mafia county. We don't do that here. So, you know, he's been the president of the council for years. So I'm learning from other county council actually do by the law and do things right. So they have, let me just give you a comparison. They have a $9 million budget. Carroll County is about 19,000. They had 3 meetings to hash it out. Now the public don't speak, but you got to do the ODL covers. You got to do all budget cuts in front of a public meeting. So we know that those 3 councilmen, Likens, Gale, and Steele, went back with Rick, prior councilman. They should have known better what he was doing, breaking the law.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I'm doing, right? You know. So basically, so we fast forward this meeting, he's making this excuse. So why didn't he just say he's making changes?
Right.
So now you have to have the budget, all the counties, by October 31st at midnight. You have to November 8th, the auditor can ask to unlock the budget. After November, now let me tell you what would have been a problem when I spoke on that. And I said, Fred, what would have happened after November 8th? He said, it'd been a mess, Councilman. I said, would you explain to me what happened if we didn't catch this? Basically what would have happened is Rick would have got his way. Because now it comes a majority of vote and you have to redo the salary ordinances with several different meetings and a lot of headaches. Because the only legal action I had was
let me interrupt you real quick. It wouldn't just be Rick who would have gotten his way. The good old boys club and Rick would have gotten their way. So let's be clear about that, because they're always trying to backdoor Mikhail, Bethany, and Jody all the time, backdooring them. They can't ever speak. They can't say anything.
The statement was made by Ben Gale that the council made. No, you 3 did and broke the law. We try to abide by the law and be public and transparent with the public. They broke the law. So they got caught again. And I texted Ken and told him that in a text, actually, because they broke the law. They got caught. They didn't think we were smart enough to look down there. And just by communicating, communication, doing the right thing. You have nothing to hide if you're doing the right thing. But if you notice Rick, he can't have a normal conversation. I think the problem with Rick is the council is lazy. He does their work for him. And, you know, there's a lot about Rick that we can be here at 4 a.m. that are facts that I got on record. So, and it's going to come out.
Hey, Mikhail, who do they pay for to do the accounting? What's the name of that firm? How much are we paying for that?
I think it's a little. I think there's possibly 2 line items in that, Catherine. That I think it's right around. It could be 300,000. It could be a little high on 400, but you're right. And let me just tell you, since you brought that up. Well, there's certain things to that I'm not going to play like I know, because I don't. But they handle all things of software that the county can't handle, like we do certain contracts. So I'm not going to play and try to say that, you know, but I can tell you nothing about Rick since he's listening. So we pay him $65,000. He's gave himself a $9,000 raise last year. Now he's got these different budgets. He charges fees into the recorder's office or in the auditor's office. So he gave him a $9,000 raise, and and Mr. Colt gave him a good sized raise. So they've done that big the last 2 years. So Rick has another little side job, so he can leave anytime. Elected official in Indiana, you got to be there 1 day a year. That's still, it's a crazy law. I don't agree with it. But he goes out and gets these jobs that he works for maintenance, Morgan's Properties. And he gets extra money. So my question is, when's enough from taxpayers? We raise your taxes. we do things. But anyway, let me get back to this stay focused because there's a little more to this. So he stated he had all these changes. Now, Mr. Van Dopp went through to me what he's supposed to do. So when he entered in that 45 million in the Form 1 and it creates the ordinance and stuff, Mr. Van Dopp says he does not submit anything else until after your adoption of the budget and your amendments were done and he puts them in. He should have never submitted that. Now, you're not talking about a first-year auditor. You're talking about a seventh-year auditor.
Yeah.
That has never been questioned. You don't question Rick Gardner. You don't question John Richwine. You don't question Darlene Likens. You don't question Councilman, none of them, Councilman Steele or none of them.
Right.
You don't question those people.
Yeah.
They're above the law, but not my law.
Right.
And that's done. And that's why I got permission from the attorney to come on here because I was not to speak about some certain stuff and that he let me off the chain because what Rick did during the meeting. And he said, okay, they want to play, we can street fight. And that's what's going to go on. And it's all going to be bigger than what everyone, and that's in the works. But it's a lot when people understand the entities, like he called me out. My job is checks and balances.
Absolutely.
I'm the money purse, like the House of Representatives, they're the money purse. So I'm really sorry, Rick, that you feel like you're excluded from that and you're above the law and I'm not supposed to check your line items and stuff. But some change, Rick gets what he wants in his office, big raises, and he makes his, but don't question me. Well, no more. Because taxpayers don't know what's going on. And I'm very grateful for Katherine. We disagree in a loving way, I think, but you got to understand the back and the ground operation of who people are, what their entities are, who's connected. And I do, because I've been here a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And so they got caught, the bottom line, his story's not adding up. And the way he explained to me, you take what you adopted, they go in, they take over basically the commas. Rick Gardner thinks it's a big geometry and algebra, and it's very simple, Mr. Van Dopp said. All 92 counties do this, folks.
Yeah, right.
All 92 counties do it.
Plug and chug.
I mean,
listen,
Rick's the only one. He must be the king auditor,
I know some auditors around the state of Indiana, and they are like, some of them barely graduated like high school.
Yeah,
so this is not rocket science.
Okay, and Mr. Bilbrey, maybe because I'm very transparent, Mr. Gardner was a March general manager. I was a Hardy general manager.
Yeah.
And I really think the way he acts, he couldn't probably handle fast food because he'd go nuts. Right. Because it's a little more different general manager of a March store than fast food. Because it was, that was when I was a little younger and I can move. But anyway, I have I spent a lot of time on this and it's a lot of research. And my attorney is very good at what he does. And any Indiana code that comes through, I am able to send. I'm very blessed to have an attorney on staff and been a long time friends with him, but he's not a part of corruption. He hates it. But he did this there's no thing he did as a purpose because his story doesn't add up. He told Rob Steele, I submitted the wrong budget. They run up to the auditor's office and try to fix it. 9:02 next morning, they have him unlock it. 5 hours later at 2:32, they submit the correct budget. So, we got caught, so I better do the one. They had it on the worksheet. All they had to do, Mr. Van Dopp said, is move over to propose what they had, what was ever amended, and move over to amended. That's it, Mr. Bilbrey. That's it.
Let's do what Nicole's asking, Mikhail. They're asking to view up some of his behavior towards you and people want to see. So let's show his behavior. Yeah.
All right, pull that up here. I don't think I can. Oh yeah, I can.
Voter fraud.
Oh my gosh.
Mr. Gardner, you may go there, buddy.
The motion.
Can we?
Mr. President, we have completely lost the quorum.
Yeah. This is ridiculous.
Did you actually just call me a crook in public?
Did you just ask me to say I'm expunged?
I'm sorry?
Yep.
I'm expunged.
President Steele.
That doesn't mean you didn't do it.
The personal attacks have got to stop. Mr. Bond, please direct Mr. Bond. ignore.
All right, yeah. Can you rewind it just a
Here's the
hair
thing.
before
They
this?
never
President Steele, the
disciplined
motion
Rick.
that I made
They
that
never
was
disciplined
seconded by
Rick.
Mr.
Yeah,
Bilbrey
why? Yeah,
would allow-
rewind it just a hair, so we can get like kind of what happens because we paused it like
Please
right
send
in
an
the
email to
middle.
DLGF,
Okay.
.in.gov to request that your form be unlocked. That's so you can, it's right on the form.
Mess up like a typo on 1 or 2 lines, not be
No,
able to
that's not what
do
it
a whole
means.
nother
Pre-
budget.
President
You didn't
Steele.
email, you called it.
President Steele,
It's
I sent an
recognized
email
that
to the DLGF.
the motion,
I'm tired of you calling me a liar.
the
He's
motion that I made that was
I'm not the one
seconded
that's been in jail for voter fraud.
would.
Oh my
Mr.
gosh.
Gardner,
You may go there.
the motion,
Bond, can we?
We're gonna have
Mr.
problems.
President,
Bond?
we have completely lost the quorum
Yeah.
here. This is getting
this is ridiculous.
Did you actually just call me a crook in
Did
public?
you just ask me to say I would go on?
Ooh, I mean, what happens if you did that?
I'm expunged.
President
What
Steele.
if you called him a
That
crook in
doesn't mean you
public?
didn't do it.
So I think we're leaving out actually what I called him because his chief deputy, Todd Culp, sat here on my couch and said he is computer literate. He's computer literate. And basically, Todd Culp does all his work for him in the computer. He's computer literate. So I called him out.
This is
But you
true.
got to understand what the law reads on expungements and stuff. To actually, so I called him out being computer literate. And he knows he is. He knows that. And so he come back, I was locked up for voter fraud, whatever. Number one, and I hope he's listening right now because he committed a Class C infraction. And we're probably going to file something, a law. So he actually committed a Class C infraction. In the capacity as a county councilman, I was actually comment on him as a capacity. Number one, he's capacity auditor. I'm capacity of a county councilman.
Sure.
I'm questioning about his job. Is he computer illiterate? Well, obviously
Yeah.
he couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
So I punched him in the face. He wants to go and below the belt, and that's fine. I mean, that's fine. So I called him a crook and he just hasn't been caught yet.
Right.
And
So
let's
you can
just
call
be
me out.
clear. Let's
Again,
just be
you
clear
can't
to
call
the
me out, but
public.
I can call you out. You know, but the funny thing is, Mr. Brilley, here's this, 2019, after all this, that it was 20 years ago when I did my deal, everything happened. I was expunged.
Mikhail, let's just be honest with everybody. Mikhail's never skirted around this. He's never tried to hide it.
Yeah.
The fact
Yeah,
that Rick did this was completely out of line. Mikhail has always been honest about it. He's always talked openly. He's never not tried to address it with a person who's addressed it to him. And the fact that he took it to that extreme as an elected official was in poor taste. Mikhail has
That's
never
where it
tried
generates the Class C infraction, Catherine.
Yeah, he's never, you know.
And anyway, I called him, and here's the thing. I've been on the phone with probably 5 attorneys and 3 of them's called me and they want to go. So, it is what it is. That's fine. When you're guilty, you start acting out. Obviously, when he first got up to the podium, he was shaking, stuttering. He couldn't just explain it. He had to lash out. Now, I probably made some mistakes there. I probably should have said point of order because, again, we go by Robert's order.
Sure.
President still gave him the floor to explain what the problem was. And he couldn't stay on topic. He had to lash out, and that's what he does. And this goes back. He actually, Mr. Bilbrey, another Fred Reese that was on there with me, and Catherine does it. Last year, he demanded me to give him something. We're in a conference room behind the commissioners discussing a budget or something. And he actually comes around. That's when he had long hair.
Oh,
long hair, and he looked like a freak.
Yeah.
And he could like coming out of me. I mean, Fred, we were pretty close, and but he actually charged me in the back room, got in my face, and so there's been several instances with him that could have been threatening. At one council meeting, the cameras were turned off. He come around there pointing his finger, and it's pretty bad when your other opposition saying, "Rick, you need to," He's just trying to sign the paper. So he's done crazy stuff. If people really see this, the voters, they would not vote that guy in. And I will tell you right now, he is not going to get commissioner. If I got to spend $20,000, I'll do it.
Is that what we think that he's doing? We think
he is. He filed exploratory committee against that. He filed exploratory committee. And actually, Catherine brought that up earlier. I get this call, and I work 7 to 3 on Saturdays, and I go in there, And he never done this prior years of him being auditor. So he's got this huge half paid ad, probably $2,000 ad, $1,500, $2,000. And Rick G. Gardner, like, oh, now he's running. Now he wants to be active.
Yeah, he's
So
already
now
on
he costs
Facebook
the
running ads.
taxpayers big money to try to tell people. And I don't know, do you have that, Catherine? I don't know if you.
But he's already running ads and everything. And he's
Yeah,
already
well,
delivered.
he's doing it under the account until I get a public access to figure out is he using money, because it's actually auditor's account that he has on Facebook.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is now he's running, so he's trying to use that like he's some kind of saint, which as you
Let's
see,
show some more behavior, Mikhail, of
Okay.
Yeah, they're going crazy.
People.
Yes.
Okay.
Talk to the commissioners about that. Well, at least the commissioner president,
I don't think there's too much more, is there,
I
Catherine?
went back and looked at.
She took it back just a second. I think they were saying take it back a bit.
And to date in 2023, and determined that
No, I took it further
with
along.
that 10-year average, we would be leaving enough in that fund. They made some changes in the insurance reserve fund or insurance program this last year that allowed that to build a little bit. So we did have to take $975,000 from a reserve.
Come here, Daddy.
I don't remember if it was last year. Yeah, it was probably in 2022 to meet our needs that year. With those changes they've made, that you have gained some ground in the insurance fund. The number you were talking about, the $450,000 that comes from the commissioner's budget, that is just the commissioner's portion or the county's portion, taxpayers' portion. Also, what goes into that fund is what comes out of everybody's check daily. So hitting that general rule again of 25% rule, 1.8 million would be a proper reserve. You could bump that up a little bit.
I don't know what's going on. So is this too?
So let me explain to you, Mr. Bilbrey. You want to pause it? And
This was
county employees
timestamp I got sent, so sorry.
Okay, maybe I'm on the wrong timestamp. Let me look at. He
are you
loses
talking
his-
about his salary when I question about his salary?
Yeah. The other
That's
thing
a
is
little
he
more-
starts screaming at Mikhail that he doesn't answer to Mikhail. Well,
Right, I
he
think
answers
that's
to
what we're-
everybody up there and in the
Well, yeah.
community. He's the auditor.
Right.
These
He's
people
just
are
like Mr.
taxpayers.
Bilbrey
Even though
said,
they're
he's the
elected
secretary
officials.
Yeah.
of the council.
Yeah.
He's a legend in his own mind. I can't
You're
believe
right.
it.
Right.
There's just so much, man. I can probably.
I'm back before the screaming match. They said to go back before that, so I'm there now.
I think what Catherine. Okay, well, I don't know. I let Catherine take because I don't know where she's trying to go.
And
We need
the
to have
month
public.
before-
or
the month before that passing of that budget, we should have already had a public meeting with our department
Yeah,
heads.
this is
so
it.
that We can communicate that budget and work at it as a group, so that when it comes time for that adoption process the month after, we're ready to go.
I agree. And that is.
And there's no really thing to just to follow the law on that. You have your workshops, you have your public meetings. There's no other way to do it. The ODL all kinds of spells it
We go
out.
to conferences.
Every other county does
Meet
except
your
Madison.
deadlines to
Right.
submit.
Maybe next year will be a little
Always
different.
open back up and add to them. That's a common statement from the SBOA when it comes to reporting. Common statement. Right there on the
Yeah, this is it.
gateway form 1, it says, hey, if you need to make changes, send us an email to DLGF. I'll tell you exactly what it says because I don't know. Please send an email to gateway@dlgf.in.gov to request that your form be unlocked. That's so you can make changes. It's right on the form.
Mess up like a typo on 1 or 2 lines, not be
No, that's not what
do
it
a whole
means.
nother budget.
President
You didn't
Steele.
email, you called it.
President Steele,
It's recognized now to the DLGF.
the motion,
I'm tired of you calling me a liar.
the motion that I made that was
I'm not the one
seconded
that's been in jail for voter fraud.
was.
Oh my
Mr.
gosh.
Gardner,
You may go there.
the motion
Can we?
Mr. President,
What?
we have completely lost the quorum
Yeah.
here. This is getting
This is
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Did you actually just call me a crook in
Did
public?
you just ask me to say I'm expunged?
I'm sorry?
I'm expunged.
President
You
Steele.
just brought
Guys,
up.
that doesn't mean you didn't do it.
The
Well,
personal
you get
attacks
to it,
have got to stop. Mr. Bond, please direct Mr. Bond, ignore.
Hard to ignore, he's a nut.
The President Steele, the motion that I
Or
made
not.
that was seconded by Mr. Emery would allow time for anyone wishing to type something up to amend the minutes from that last meeting. It would allow time for them to do that. That way, if there's a motion to amend, we would actually have something to consider. So in the hopes that we could actually get past what the fourth item on our agenda tonight, I would ask that perhaps we just vote to delay consideration of this as the motion that I made until the next meeting, and that gives time for people to do something productive as opposed to what's been happening here.
Call for
So
questions.
pause that for just a minute. Chris, how we got here was in the very beginning of this video. I don't know if Kate can go to the very beginning of the video. Bethany, right after the pledge, Bethany says, I will not approve these minutes. That in itself is a striking story to the whole thing. It's right after the pledge. And I started recording before we got going because people seem to do a lot of talking before it starts.
Oh yeah,
So you
yeah,
let
yeah,
me
yeah.
know at
That's
the
all I'm
5-minute
saying.
mark, Kate, is after they do the pledge and stuff. And you got to see when Bethany starts in right after the pledge.
Robin, if you're ready, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman North. Present. Councilman Gale.
Here.
Councilwoman Keller. Here. Councilwoman Likens. Here. Councilman Bond.
Present.
Councilman Emery.
Here.
President Steele.
Here. Next, the approval of the minutes.
I make a motion that we reject the minutes as presented. I have quite an issue with these minutes and with some other public records from the previous meeting. I feel like these minutes are very vague, and that leads them to be open to interpretation. And so starting on page 9 of the minutes, it states that President Steele presented the 2024 Madison County budget to the council, and no budget was presented until after the recess. A lengthy discussion that transpired revolved around the open door law and not actually the budget. President Steele and members of the council had made changes to the proposed budget behind closed doors and were trying to pass off their changed budget as the same budget that had been presented to the public during the public hearing. Then it says that President calls a 10-minute recess, and that is true, but it omits the fact that the recess was much longer than 10 minutes, and that just over 10 minutes into the recess, Rick Gardner can be seen pausing the recording, and that adds to the narrative that a 10-minute recess occurred, but it hides his conversation with Councilman Nort from the public record. The meeting resumed with a presentation of Rob Steele's proposed budget, and significant changes were made to the same. However, the way that the minutes currently read, it's not clear what budget we adopted at the last meeting, and that is very, very important because Auditor Rick Gardner then submitted Rob Steele's proposed budget, and not the budget we adopted 5-2, but what Rob Steele had proposed was submitted to the state for certification. And the way that these minutes are worded, it fits Rick Gardner's narrative that we adopted Rob Steele's proposal. And so I believe that these minutes need an overhaul to include the changes that were made to the proposed budget, and I need an explanation for how the incorrect budget was submitted to the state for certification.
I think we can have Rick address that, but.
I see under Robert Rule, he recognized Rick to have the floor,
Yeah.
and we should just let him go and bury himself, but it got a little, that's why I should call point of order. The president recognized him and let him tell his story, but it didn't happen like that, and it should have. That was my fault.
All
Okay,
right. I have
and
a
so-
timestamp from the comment.
Someone keeps saying to go from 24. They to go to 48, but we went from 24 minutes to 50, and we didn't see anything at 48.
What
So
are
we're
you
at
trying to
48 again
find,
now?
Catherine? Catherine, what are you trying to find?
I don't know.
It's Nicole in the comments here, so I'm not sure what exactly part she's
I
talking about.
don't know what
But
she's
I've got
trying to
it-
get to, but we've.
I've got it at 48:15.
All
Well,
right.
what is she trying to find?
48:56, at 48:56, didn't we do that one where Vaughn and Gardner go at it?
Yeah. Play from here, and we'll see. Because I'm pretty sure we've
What
seen
are
it.
you trying to find,
700
Catherine?
and something
We don't
employees
know.
Plus everything else in 50 budgets. Now we had to manually enter those into Gateway to make those changes. It wasn't as
They're
simple
showing
as
up here,
pushing a
too.
button and uploading. We had to change the whole thing, but we're not going to put
That's
it into
about
Gateway
uploading.
without
Yeah,
making
we
the
watched
changes
this.
and checking it and double checking it to your spreadsheet.
We watched all that part.
I mean,
We
again, I'm
we
gonna have
watched
to
up
next
to
time, obviously, from now on, since you're in
57:47.
office,
What authority?
Have a public asset.
What authority do you have over the auditor,
Yep,
the
that's where he's asking
treasurer,
that.
the surveyor, the
What authority do you think
judges?
I'm trying
What
to do?
authority do you think you
What
have?
authority do you think I'm doing, sir?
I don't know what you're doing.
Well, you're
You're making it- you're making
you
a
just
big
asked what
gentleman-
authority am I trying to have?
Gentlemen, can we stick with the issues in
Well,
our
this
job
is-
as a council?
I would agree.
Because we've gone farther, and I got with Rick, Jody, and, you know, I said we made some mistakes as far as timing on our budget, in the way we handled it, and.
Well, you guys
We're gonna
handled it.
get together after.
Yeah.
So let me ask this question, Mikhail, after this whole 2-hour meeting, did he ever answer how we got here? Because I don't
No.
recall him ever answering it.
No. The only thing controversially after that I remember happened when Rick come running from the back and when I was talking about a salary ordinance, and I want to know how he got that $9,000, and they try to say this fund. I said, or this percentage and that, or salary ordinance. I don't care about all that. When I look at DLGF employee composition, he made this much more than what we set aside to general fund. That's not right to the taxpayers.
And what happened is they go at it for about an hour, then they go into new money requests for about 40 minutes, and then they go back at it. So that's why we're kind of all over the place.
That's kind of more in the end, Catherine, probably 1:30 to the 2 mark. Hour and a half to the 2 mark.
All right. Hold on, real quick. Okay? So again, we've watched this from 24 minutes to 57 minutes, but is someone still saying something's happened at 49 that we have not seen?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, you play at 49 and see.
Can you take it back there?
I mean, I don't know what it would be at 49. I mean, we kind of.
That's like literally right as he was just saying all that stuff, and we're using Catherine's video. All right, so we're
Other than
49-14.
I'm gonna have to next time, obviously from now on, since you're in office,
What authority?
have a public asset.
What authority do you have over the auditor, the treasurer,
Hold on, stay
the
here.
surveyor,
We did-
the
What
judge?
authority
What
do?
authority do you
Yeah,
think
do
you
that.
have?
What authority
And then
do you think I'm doing?
So
All right, pause.
don't know what you're doing.
So you're saying no, what?
So we've covered this part, and then they're going to go into
Right.
new monies, and then we go all the way to the next part, and they start yelling at
Okay,
Jody.
hold on.
to do
Pause
math.
it here. She said just play it from here. We've watched from this until 57, but play it from here again because the people I don't know what's happening.
You're making a
You just
big-
asked what
Gentlemen,
authority am I trying to have?
Gentlemen, can we stick with the issues in
Stick with
our
it. Well, this
job
is-
as a council?
I would agree.
Because we've gone farther.
I would agree.
And I got with Rick, Jody, and, you know, I said we made some mistakes as far as timing.
You
on our
guys
budget,
did.
in the way we handled it, and we're gonna get together after January and do some lessons learned.
Why not December? That's me.
Didn't stop.
The
It's
only other controversy, if someone's making a comment, I remember is when I brought up this salary
Next year.
deal, and that was.
they just
Your
held-
request,
yeah.
Mr. Vaughn, about
Hold on. Keep it going. Keep it going. Just 1 second.
getting what you wanted. I can't speak to why they didn't. let's get that out.
We've watched all
Admin
this.
sent out. Nobody said that they weren't getting anything.
But he's the
Yeah,
president.
He's,
Why
he's
couldn't
already
he
done
speak?
that, Nicole.
I knew what.
So let's try to go to the 145 mark. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, we've played that. He already called him illiterate.
Yeah, I haven't seen any comment what someone's asking. I'm trying to. I don't know what that person's asking.
Money, between the combination of the state funds for the high-tech crime unit.
Yeah,
and the
there was
funds that
nothing
were
there.
used to
But that's
offset
Andrew.
the high-tech crime unit to be able to purchase a vehicle for the
A lot of
high-tech.
people don't have that much.
Keep moving past
Well, then
that
we
till
won't
Rick
buy the
gets
vehicle.
back up there.
So why
I
did
think
they
that's
not
what it
go
was.
for gas this
Keep going.
Mr. Emery. Yeah.
There's where I.
Is this where you start
Okay.
talking?
It's not a salary increase.
Okay.
6 pays is
Said that it was only gonna increase by whatever the council had increased the percentage and it was
Yeah, let's watch this.
5%. That's substantially more than
This is
that.
where I bring up the salaries and everything, Catherine. His
No, right
little
here.
side pot.
$2,500. You went from 11 something to.
Now, this is his own budget. He should be able to know how to do it. I don't know.
okay, so what's your question?
We went from 12,000, I believe, let me see here, 12,000 to 14,500.
Was it 12,000 or was it 12,500? I don't remember.
Hang on,
Don't
I got it
remember.
here. Let me find it.
Stop. Yes, pause this. We heard him say he was illiterate at like 49, right when they started yelling. I just watched it on my phone again.
What is she
Literally
asking,
right here.
Mr. Brilley? What is she wanting? I mean, what?
I guess wanting to see the time where you called him
The
illiterate,
salary.
which happened at before 51:30.
Yeah, we did all that. We did all that.
Of the budget for 14 something. The auditor then, because he saw that everyone else got the 5%, he requested that the salary ordinance.
We're
be
at
the
202,
12.6,
so
that it would
this
be
should
the
be coming up
5%
quite
that would
quickly.
be in line
So
with
listen to
other
this.
county
So
employees.
because everybody
Whereas
else got it,
before that,
now the auditor wants
there is
his
salary
cut and the
ordinance.
share later?
Yeah.
What the hell?
But it was his decision, his choice, or his request rather, for us to only consider the 12.6, so that we wouldn't be paying him a higher raise than what most other.
So actually what we need is a thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Well, not necessarily that, just not the accusations anymore.
I was not making an
It was-
accusation. I was trying to
here we go.
understand
I think
what
it
was
was a
on this
legitimate
paperwork.
Might should have understood it before you came in.
Okay,
That's the whole point of
Why
a
is it
public
okay for him to
meeting,
talk
ask
to
questions.
you guys like that?
All
We
right.
shouldn't have to know how we're gonna vote before we come into a meeting. That's the whole point of having the meeting.
He shouldn't be allowed to talk
I
to
don't
them.
think
No
you
matter
homework
if
before
it's-
you accuse people.
I did my homework.
President
He
Steele,
shouldn't be
just
able to
so we
talk to
can stay
people
on
like
If
that.
they're not, you can't do a math problem.
Could we
Point of
maybe just
order.
go ahead and move
Why
forward
do
on
they
this?
allow him to talk to that?
We can, yeah, if you have some more questions.
Okay, so there was a mix-up in the clerk's office, in the 4D clerk's budget. And I think what happened, I'm not sure about the one line item, and hopefully Linda can shed some light on that tonight. But
I'll come back to
during
that,
the budget hearing,
Nicole.
she had talked about moving.
I think I just seen Sean's.
To the 4D budget.
Is that someone asking about the supplement of using his supplement
What
piece for his
happened, though,
salary
is-
fees?
In the budget
User fees to
workbook,
supplement his salary. Yeah.
number didn't get transferred.
Is that what?
over. Am I making
I think
sense
that's what
so
they're
far?
saying.
The higher
There-
salary
is
didn't
that
get
what the
transferred over
questions
to that
are?
line item of
Yeah, it
what
just
the
says
budget
Rick
he's
is
got-
using
he's
user fees
got-
to supplement his salary.
okay.
Those funds should be used to improve the
Right,
office.
if you want to pause that, I'll kind of explain that.
Remember the,
So
If-
say in
It's so, we set his general fund budget, like I think this year for 24 is gonna be 65,000. He's got a plat book fund, then he's got another fund, and I forget that people come in and pay user fees and that he charges out of his office. The that's where he got the $9,000 increase and then
Okay.
$8,000 the year before. So that's what I was questioning, because they were saying this percentage is up to this. I don't care about it. When I look at DLGF website and all he made money at it, whether it's fees, that's taxpayer money. You charge a taxpayer. So he got $9,000 more for 22 added to his salary, which he made 72,000. And the year
Right.
before was 8,000. Now he had 14.5 in there, and they said, well, he may not be able to go up to that, whatever. I would guess probably in 25, when you look at DLGF, at the end of next year, he'll be making probably around 81,000. That's my guess, because he upped the. So I don't care about all the smoke screens. All I care is say, when I look down there, just how much he made as an auditor. I don't care where you get it from. I don't care where you get it from. You're still getting that money from the taxpayer, whether it's fees, whether it's whatever fund, you're still giving yourself a raise, and we have jurisdiction over that.
Right. So we're going a little long here. We're gonna have to wind up here in just a few moments, but so you guys are this next year, 2024. It's your at-large members that are up for election, or district?
The three at large. That's
one of them's
me,
you.
Me, Ben Gale, the interrupter, and then Anthony Emery.
Okay.
So I've been walking the south part of the county since June 1st with Christy Grabowski. She is running so I'm running for election, and she's running with me. We're running as a team. And we've been, like I said, we've been out since June 1st and quit November 1st. So that's kind of, then you have the District 3 commissioner, which is John Richwine, is Lisa Rinker's running against. Then District 2 is Darlene Likens not running again. That's Devin Norick running,
Wait,
Rick.
Darlene Likens is not running again?
No, she is not running again. She's in County District. She's in County District 2, and she is not running. So that's where Devin Norick is running, and then Rick filed to run.
Oh God!
Because he's the godchild of the Mafia family, I guess.
Likens.
Yeah.
So
well,
Mrs. Likens is in her late 70s. So
no, she's almost 80. Catherine, she'll be 80 next year.
Yeah. I think their dream was that Diana was going to step into that position, but it hasn't really panned out the way they should.
And last year, Devin lost by 3 votes to her. And so Likens' name is a lot better name than Gardner. The only one that really I think that is going to be a tough race, and he may not run, I'm hearing, but sometimes they say that until the filing date, then they do run.
Yeah.
But I believe Devin will win and beat Rick, because I really do. But he's got a good name. His dad's a judge, and the Norrick's a pretty well-known family, to be honest, and they're not an establishment. And so, and then so that's what I'm made worried about now, and I'm having questions about the auditor's race. And actually, I'll let it out, and I'm sure Catherine's going to just smile. But actually, I mentioned Catherine for running for auditor. So, because even though maybe she didn't have a accounting degree, but and actually I did that. People said, "What did you say?" And I said, "Well, she's."
Oh, you ought to do that, Catherine.
Well, what do they always say in politics? Follow the money.
Yeah, you know it. Absolutely.
Well, she got to practice. She's busy, but we need someone that you can learn. This ain't rocket scientist, and we need to have honest people in there. Now it's to the point, like I said, I printed 15 sheets out of public requests, and anything I get, I can't trust anymore. So now I'm just going to be public.
I just want you to know, Mikhail, that there's times where you leave me speechless. I usually know what you're going to say. I had no idea that was going to come out of your mouth. I'm like, where did that come from?
I'm more, and here's the thing, Mr. Bilbrey, about me. I've been around. I do my work behind the scenes. I talk to a lot of people. You never let your enemy what you're doing. And like I said, I am a precinct. Actually, I am a precinct committeeman. I was elected, and I actually work my precinct. And a lot of
Right.
people know me in my precinct, and
That's
I've been here 8 years, and people. So that's a whole nother story because time running out. Katherine kind of hit it. There's a couple, but if we can get different commissioners, council, and the auditor work together, but they gave him Rick the power.
yeah.
Obviously, he has mental issues, and he can't talk normal to somebody. And I mean,
I love it.
it is what it is, And so he wanted to hit me under the belt, and now he's
Yeah.
falls the bear, and
Yeah.
they created a monster. Someone told me this morning, and I know what's going to happen. And I can just tell you, I made a lot of phone calls today, and I said, hey, so I love the questions, and I apologize I got on so late because I was
Yeah, no
doing
problem.
some research.
You're always
on code.
welcome here.
Now,
You-
in all fairness, and I'm going to speak for Mikhail, and if Rick were wanting to get on here, or any Mikhail, and I think
Oh.
Mikhail, I would be happy to be on here too.
Listen,
Mikhail,
yeah.
I think would come to the table. I don't think we'd have a problem with that if that wanted to occur. So we don't want anybody to feel like they're not welcome on
Yeah.
the
Oh
show.
no. Anybody, listen. I'll talk to anybody anytime. Rick, you and I have talked many times. You know who I am. I know who you are. You are more than welcome to pop on. I'm interested in hearing your side of the story. You want to talk and say what goes on, and we want to, have you on, give you a little bit of time, and then have everybody on in a big pile on cage match. I'm fine. Whatever we got to do.
Well, I will want to say that I want to add this though, because it's funny. He's screening out my voter fraud, but it depends on what your team is, Mr. Bromley, what team you're on, because it was funny because 2019 he had a big 4x8 sign when he was running for mayor in the primary. So I guess I wasn't that bad back then, was I? When I'm on your team, how that quickly changes.
Right. I tell you, it's oh man, really interesting. Well, counselor, you're welcome here anytime.
Appreciate
I
it.
definitely thank you coming on here and talking to us. And you're welcome anytime.
Appreciate it. And
We'll
I
definitely
know
follow
there's
you
probably a
through
lot
the
of,
election.
and I tell you what, my phone number's on my magnet. If any of your listeners from Madison County that wants to call me, my phone number, and I put on my magnets. My attorney told me I was nuts, but I've had on there 4 years, and actually I've had some really great calls, a couple of y'all calls, but my phone number is 765-620-3829, 765-620-3829, and I'm more willing to take any calls. I'm very open, and I love calls to educate people, and I'm, like I said, I don't hide anything. I'm very open. If people want me to give them,
Mikhail is happy if you call him about me. He'll vet you to see if you get to call me. So you can call Mikhail, and if he thinks it's worthy, he'll let me know, and we'll get in touch.
Oh, sure.
it's just you got to know and the problem is the voters smell it, they see it, you gotta. That's why I'm a big door-to-door person. Many political classes through my life. Yep. And I'll never go away because people, you see a newspaper clip, and it's like Ben said in the newspaper, they're quoting, "Oh, it's a council's fault." Whoa, no, it's not, because me, Councilwoman Norick, and Keller, we try to do it right, and you guys got caught. So it was you three that broke the law, not the council. So see what I mean? If you read it, then they're thinking, well, so that's why it's so important to door that I do, because I met a lot of great people asking questions.
Yeah.
People are asking questions out there. They're wondering what's going on. And
I tell you, that's where it's won, door to door. That's if you get people, I don't care who you are, if you're willing to knock doors, you will win an election.
I can tell you, I've hit 3,500 doors, me and Christy. Ordered 5,000 magnets. And actually funny because the newspaper guy came up in front of everyone and said, "Hey, I got a couple of your magnets. You and that young lady." So everybody just looked, the Oxford Likens and they just kind of, what? So I think it's important to get out there. I think people are seeing it, but people don't know. Right. And that's where a ground operation and really, it's a lot of work. I mean, literally it's a lot of work, but it's effective. Like you said, Mr. Bilbrey, it's very effective, and people don't do it anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know how many people listening from Madison County, but like I said, I hope people got my number. I'm very open. I think more people didn't get involved. Just real quick on the committeeman thing. They all run, like Katherine said, in the primary. He's stacked with his people. That's the power of the chairman, and you guys covered that. But it's just people don't realize how important that is. And I take it serious, and I go out and talk to my people. But if you're the chairman, you got that power to appoint, and you hold on that, and the caucuses are fixed, and so there's a lot that it goes deeper than a couple shows. I mean, and I think I'm going to get some help that's going to happen outside the county. That got a very surprise phone call. So, and I don't want to let that out. And I think people are going to be surprised when this happens. And I will say on this show, no, I can't say it. I can't because it'll run it. I don't know if he's went to bed or not, or he's stewing up there, if it's actually watching.
Listen,
but
you're living in his head rent free. Stop it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, you've seen how, and actually, when I made that comment, guys, I said you're computer literate. That was in your job capacity.
I'm hitting in the face. Times. Chris and Kate have to help me.
Well, no, I'm just saying, I did in work capacity that deals with your job. Then he wanted to go underneath the belt with me. Yeah. And he's so dumb that he didn't realize he just gave himself a lawsuit.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, very good, sir. I appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate you guys. Do what?
Share his political spotlight on your Facebook and get people to watch it and stuff.
Yeah, I do. But I'm probably not as computer savvy as Katherine. I'm really not. I'm very old, 48-year-old, and people yell at me all the time. Well, yeah, that's on your phone, and it's like, and I was trying to get into you guys, and that's like, oh no, and your lady was trying to take it, like, I had to download it real quick, and it's like, and because I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go on there. I just, because I'm tired of silence. When you say see something, say something. Yes, ma'am.
Did a great job.
I appreciate that. You gave me a little confidence.
Sometimes it's frustrating technology, but you followed directions and you managed to get in. And I was kind of freaking out, thinking, "Oh my God, I didn't explain it well enough." And then up you pop. There you are.
You're there. Yeah, well, I had to download it. I saw your message.
Mikhail's 48 years young. He's never been married. He's still trainable. If anybody's looking, right there, Mikhail's phone number. Call him up. We hook you up.
That's why I tell everybody. That's why people say, "Hey, Mikhail's a great catch," because he'll tell you he's trainable.
He owns his own house.
We have.
But no, I welcome people on your show. I want people to call me if you live in Madison County. Obviously, everything's important to me, but you have to vote in Madison County.
Sure. Yeah. Be a Madison County voter. That would be good.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and we'll have you back anytime.
Okay.
Right, we'll see you.
Have a good one.
Now I need to figure out how to get out of this thing.
I'm going to send you this way, and then you just have to go out. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. Thank you, guys.
Well, so that was that. That was, I don't know where the doctor went. I do want to play this for 1 second because I found it, and I think so people don't kill us. I just want to make sure that people are aware where this is. So listen real carefully here. See if you hear it.
See, and you don't get it yet. That's a problem.
Like you've been in 7 years, you don't.
That's a problem.
All right, can we take the personal? Look, we need to.
I'm sorry,
Mr. Vaughn.
I'm illiterate. Are you really saying that?
I say computer illiterate.
Weren't you?
Let
Guys,
Rick.
really? This is not productive.
It's not worth it. Let's continue.
Oh, it seems
on
to be
without-
partially my meeting because you're certainly drawing me into it.
You put yourself in everything.
Okay.
Can we,
on this-
there's a
I
motion,
just
there's a
wanted-
motion on the table.
These people are great. Listen, they don't know what's going to happen. Let me tell you real quick here. I promise, after all this crazy crap, all of this craziness, I'm going to make it my mission to get to the next Madison County meeting. Because if they go get the county brownies over the doctor whispering in the back, oh Lord, it's been a minute since I've been there. They want to get involved in some political theater. We'll get involved in some political theater. I just hope they're ready and they come to play, because I come to play. So I don't know where the doctor went. I guess she just said, screw it, I'm gone. She didn't say goodbye. I think she thought we were dumping her too. I don't know. So I don't know if we give her a second to come back in or if that's just it. Do you know what happened to her? I mean, all right. Well, I guess that's going to be it then.
There's only room in this world for one Kate.
No meeting in December. Yeah, right. No meeting in December. So I guess we'll have to wait until January. What in the world goes on with the people that don't even work 12 months a year? What kind of council people are those? Listen, this is Delaware County, where we aren't doing government unless the FBI is involved. And even we do council meetings 12 months a year. Holy hell. What in the world? That is ridiculous. You got a council that only works 11 months a year? Holy shit. All right. Rick should wear his I'm computer illiterate shirt next time, only with the trunk shrimp in the back. Well, I'll have to go there in January. Hopefully the weather's nice. All right, folks. This, I guess, wrapped up an interesting show. I don't know where the doctor went. I'll have to message her and make sure everything's okay. You guys have been great. Thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I want to thank, obviously, Counselor Vaughn for popping in. I want to thank the good doctor for being with us. Definitely want to say a big, big, big thank you to Kate, who did more this time than normal. And thank you for putting up with me barking out commands and times. So that was great. And we will see you. I'll be back here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern, same time, same place. We'll be here. I've been putting up some new shorts. I saw somebody trying to figure out earlier. We call the videos that come up in the daytime that are pre-recorded static videos. So that's what those are. And you guys, it's funny when I put them up, you guys still get on and act like it's me live. I'm fine with that, but I just don't get mad when I don't answer because it's a static video. So the only time I'll really be live is at the 9 p.m. slot, unless something really crazy is going on or it's a live on location, like at a meeting or something. So you guys will know. All right. We will see you back here at 9 p.m. tomorrow. Take care. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Have a good Sunday, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Goodbye.